Hi, everyone. As you can see, I have a guest with me. Somebody a lot of y'all may actually care about hearing the words from today. Okay, y'all know who it is, Mr. Don Smooth, the voice of the city over here,
Salute.
blessing us on this very occasion with his presence. So, welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and the goal of this show is to do one main thing, and it is to bridge the gap of knowledge. So, how it works is you have a guy like me who, honestly, I did not know who you were, unfortunately, before I started this process.
Cool.
So, in a sense, I am the right guy to hear your story because I don't have the bias and the prejudice of growing up with you, which is probably my bad, but in general, it makes me an interesting person to help look at things in your life in a little bit different so you can explain things everyone else takes for granted. If I talk to somebody from New York, I explain this as, when you feel like saying you know what I mean, there's a good chance I don't know what you mean. And that's what we're doing here. We are bridging this gap of knowledge. With that, I have to say thank you for being here. Now, I believe that you would be a certified Montreal legend. And the reason I believe this is because I think to be a legend, people have to talk about you with the reverence of being a legend. Now, I have on over 10 separate occasions, and I've only really been doing this for a few months with this level of everything, but on over 10 separate occasions, had somebody say with pride that they got hung up on you or did not get hung up on by you. As in, this was such a mark of pride and joy in the youthful stories of so many MCs in this city. I bet you your name is going to come up in Montreal stories of the people I talk to more than a lot of people. Shout out Steph Miller for the follow, by the way. I missed that before. You know how it goes on Twitch. You got to shout the peoples out.
For sure.
But it's just such an honor. So Don Smooth, for those who don't know, as we're going to find out, is the guy who held down K103's radio station. The one that basically introduced so many people to hip-hop because he was the guy that held it down. He had the real taste, and he was the person that everybody trusted. And there's many other things as part of his legacy that we'll come to see and discover. But really, when push comes to shove, I think most people my age, at least, or for a good period around that, I'm in my early 30s, will consider you to be the main source of what's hot in Montreal for the longest period of time. So that makes you a seminal part of our mission to document Montreal's hip-hop scene, especially on the Anglo side. And I don't think without your contributions, it could be anywhere near complete. On that note, I would love to start this off with my token first question because maybe your musical path isn't the same as everyone else, but you're still in the musical game. And I had this epiphany about music. And this question's a little long, it's a story, but we'll get to it and it'll connect. So it starts off with my girlfriend washing some dishes. And she's dancing around listening to that Black Eyed Peas song, that I got a feeling. You know, everyone knows that one, right? But I remember as I was watching her dance to this, once upon a time, maybe 10 years ago or so, we was in the clubs doing that circle dance and everybody was jumping around to this shit and it was just a fucking banger and everybody was turning up and having a great time to it, which made me realize that music in its timelessness kind of carries over. So like all of the club hits of today's are kind of future chore music. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that yet. So all these kids getting lit today, they don't know that moms are going to be the ones dancing to their shit 30 years from now. And that made me realize that like music's a lot about vibes and stuff. It brought me back to my youth. And I remember that my dad played a lot of Zeppelin on them tapes, and there was always tapes in the cars, Krista Bergs, things like that going on. My mom had a lot of discos. Like she would get those little disco cover tapes they would sell at the gas stations that were good enough, that had all the re-recorded versions and stuff. And it got me thinking about vibes and how so much about music is the vibes around you, but that when most people considered a musical journey, they always start at this question like, what was your favorite influence and what was the first thing? And that's not really where your musical journey starts. It actually starts a little bit earlier. You're like 5 years old, 3 years old, whatever, and there's a bunch of sounds going on around you. And these sounds are the sounds that start off your life. They're the chores musics, the car ride musics. Maybe it's the siblings music. Sometimes it's the grandma versus the parent music. And what I think everyone really wants to know is what it sounded like musically for a young 5-year-old Don Smooth, we're people on the vinyls, the radios, the tapes. If you could walk us through the music of your real youth, that would be a lovely start to this.
Right. Okay, that's a beautiful start. First, I gotta thank you for that awesome intro. You humble me with all the things that you said in your praise, and I appreciate you having an interest in my story. And as you said, we on the Twitch, right? So I gotta do the Twitch thing. Just gotta send a big shout out to everybody that's coming through tonight, checking out the chat with myself and Holden behind that. Sue, shout out to Vanessa, T-Locks, shout out to Steph Miller. Thank you guys for being here, and everybody that's lurking and working. We thank you. So, good question. Starting off with like you said, right? We don't choose the music. The first time we're hearing music, we're not the ones choosing it. It's kind of like it's the soundtrack, it's the background to what's going on in our life and times. So I grew up in the musical times for me was an amazing times. When I was a kid, it was the Michael Jacksons, the Princes, the Whitney Houstons, the Madonnas. This is what was the soundtrack of my youth. That's what was being played on the radio. Like, I didn't seek those out. That's just what was around me. It was the early MTV days and all the artists that came through that avenue. Growing up home, I am of Caribbean heritage, first generation to Bajan parents. So there was a lot of calypso and reggae in the house from early as I could remember. There was the Mighty Sparrows. Bob Marley, I would have to say, was probably one of the biggest influences. And, being a little kid, like you said, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, not really understanding the music, I had a respect for it because I saw how the elders reacted to it and how much respect they had for him and for his music. And I would hear my parents would go to the Bob Marley concerts at the Montreal Forum and come back and tell me about, a smoke-filled room and everybody had little brown cigarettes and the bass was rolling. Like, they would come out and everybody would say, we went to a Bob Marley show. You lost a little bit of hearing that night. Like, they said the bass was like nothing ever. It was an experience. You know what I mean? It was beyond a show. So one of the biggest ones growing up was the Bob Marley. And like when I would go through the parents' record collection, there was a big bulk. That was the one artist where there was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like pieces from. Whereas some of the others would just be like a one piece of this one, that one. But the Bob Marley was heavy in the collection, and so like I gravitated towards that. Like I have good memories for that.
So like right off the jump, what I'm hearing is you're already invested in music from the time of being a youth. Were like your parents involved in music in some kind of way?
Yeah.
What did they do?
Well, my mother worked in the garment industry. My father is an electrician, but he is a musician. Till this day, he performs. He's a calypsonian that still performs till this day under the name Handy Andy. And he was heavily into music, played guitar, played piano. Like as a kid, like those were some of the gifts that I got as a little kid would be like a little piano or a little guitar. So music has been a part of my life from the single digit years.
So were you getting like lessons and stuff as a youth with the little piano, or is it just to like mess around with?
So, to mess around with, but like I remember he would put the keys, he took little white tape and he put stickers on the keys with the CBA, like he broke it down on it for me. And I would just play around with it, like you said, like a kid, nothing serious. Then when I got a little older, when I got into high school, you had that choice of taking music, right, drama, or art. Naturally, I went to music, and that's when I really started learning music theory.
We'll definitely get to high school, but we still got to talk about your youth a bit. There's still a couple more things we got to discuss. As an example, sometimes I find out when I ask this question that people are actually dancers. Maybe they're into the graffiti arts. Like there's a lot of elements that come around this. It's not just the music. So I'm curious if like at like your youthful ages, you're also dancing, if you're also doing some other stuff going on.
You got to keep in mind now, right? You're talking about the young Don Smooth. We're talking about 84, 85. Break dancing has just exploded globally. Everybody was break dancing, or at least we thought we were. We were doing our version of it. And I grew up in a neighborhood, Park Extension, where they had their little crews. There was a crew I remember back in the day. They were called the Le Chateau Crusaders. And it was a regular thing, just like you would see if you ever seen Wild Style or Beat Street. That's what it looked like. All the schoolyards, people had the cardboard out. And like we were the little kids, but the teenagers would be out there breaking, and we'd be standing there watching them. Of course, they didn't let us come in and do anything. But I'm so glad that I was a part of witnessing the evolution of hip hop from its early days. Wow. Like I saw the breaking when it started. I saw the graffiti when it started.
Yo, this is why we have to talk about this stuff, because not a lot of people know it, that this was even like going down in Montreal like that. And I'm just gonna have to ask the token question I forget to ask at the beginning on purpose. But are you from Montreal, or are you born somewhere else?
I am born and raised in Montreal.
And which part of Montreal do you come from, and what is your claim?
I grew up Park Extension. That's where I spent the majority of my life.
That's amazing.
I lived in Park Extension, LaSalle. Right now I'm in the West Island. But I grew up, the formative years was in Park Ex.
That's dope. We just got to get it down. So from what I understand, it's where you went to high school that counts. So it's wherever you went to high school, that is where you get to lock it in. That's how it's been explained to me. I don't know if I'm right. I just roll with it. But that's dope. So you're basically in Park X saying that you're witnessing the inception of Montreal hip-hops and stuff really play out.
Yeah, big time. Like in Montreal, in that era, it was like, from what I witnessed, like the rap scene was coming out heavily from NDG, Côte de Neige. You had LaSalle, you had people like Chuck Ice, Gordy G, Tape MC. This was the early days, like in the 80s times. It was the inner cities, as it was anywhere in the world, right? That they were gravitating towards this thing called hip hop, right, and b-boy culture.
That's so cool. So you're young, you're watching hip hop explode. Your family's mad musical, so you're already biased towards this. Do you remember the moment that music goes from being the background to the forefront? Now, this might be young for you because you were already literally digging through crates and stuff, but I find like a lot of people have like a particular song or a moment that can be like, yo, that's my shit. I know for me, I was 12 years old and we heard the Thong Song by Cisco. And that shit was just the firest thing I ever heard. And we listened to it 13 times in a row. My teacher fucking hated us. But, yo, that's it. I just fell in love with music in a different way. It went from being something that was around me to something that was part of me. I cared about it in a different way. Do you remember that moment in your life and how old you were and what track it was, etc.?
I mean, my obsession to music, but I guess this was everybody. My obsession to music came heavily during the Michael Jackson era. Like, everybody knows like the greatness of MJ, but like experiencing and living through it, it was like nothing that I've ever experienced since. It was just like a wave, like it just sucked you in, and you just delved into music harder and harder. It was just an energy that was unexplainable. But I guess to answer that question, the first record I bought on my own that I chose, that wasn't the family's collection, I think was like a Rod Stewart Passion. I'm not even sure the reason why. And even Queen with Another One Bites the Dust. I think that one was because of the breaking influence and because of like the bass lines. Like I remember we had like back in the days, it was Sam the Record Man, and you would go there, they would have a list of the top 10, not really knowing anything. I'll just say, okay, what's the number 2, the top 5 songs? And I'll just roll with that. And started building a little collection from there, not ever thinking that I was going to do anything with it. It was just like people collected records, so I was collected too.
That's a really cool thing to have as a hobby so young. Do you remember about how old you were when that happened, when you got into it?
It was way before high school. So
wow.
Maybe 10 years old, maybe 10, 11. Yeah. There's something about it. Like I'm a tech guy till this day. And I was always fascinated with the turntable. And one of my earliest experiences, and my West Indian people could speak on this, was that a lot of the times when we would be at the adult parties, sometimes it would be the kids that would be the ones to change the records. And that would be our job. That would be the disc jockey, or at least it was for me. So I got familiar, and I was just fascinated with the turntable and how it worked, and the vinyl, and putting the needle down. And
I gotta interject. This is one of those huge knowledge nuggets moments for me, because sometimes like bridging gaps happen because I did not grow up at all with Caribbean culture, thus seeing this. Like I recently learned that like part of the DJs talking over songs was a way of branding and creating identity in a competitive scene and getting artists to come through and like record for them and redo remixes. Like this is all part of a culture I know nothing about. Okay, so what you just said.
Well, this is what gave birth to hip hop, right?
But what you just said about
that's what gave birth to hip hop.
The youth actually coming through and proceeding to be the DJs like that. Like that was something that happened. Like I've never heard that in my life. I didn't even know that was a regular thing going on at that time. So that's an amazing.
It was regular for me. I can't speak for everybody, but like I said, that's what it was for me. I used to do that.
But that's the thing is when we look at your life today, right? There's obviously, shout out Preach and Kobe with the raid. But like when we look at your life today,
Shout out to Preach.
yeah, it's dope, man. It's fucking cool. That's actually the biggest rate I ever got. Thank you, Preach. That's fucking dope. But for real,
That's
though,
family, man.
I look at your life today, and you're like, you know, the legend status guy that everybody talks about with the illustrious radio career. Already at 10 years old, you're clocking that 10. Because I'm a firm believer in that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours to perfection type thing, right? Like the more practice and effort you put into the different skills, the greater excellency you can achieve. With that being said, you at 10 years old are already building a record collection, but a diverse one, right? It wasn't like you said,
Yeah.
I'm just locked in. I think, I don't remember the first one, but like the fact you had another one, Bites the Dust, mixed with a completely
I
different.
had another one, Bites the Dust. I had Rod Stewart Passion.
Right. That's like mad different, right? These things don't sound anything alike. So already it's versatile.
No.
In a pre-YouTube era, that's insane. Like that's not heard of as we get older. Most people are pigeonholed at this point in their life. So that's crazy. On top of that, you're behind the steels doing your thing at such a youthful age because the parents just threw you on, giving you extra practice in this. When people want to think about how Don Smooth became Don Smooth, these are the important details that need to be documented.
But I have to jump in there. First of all, I got to send a big shout out to my guy, Preach. It was actually your interview with Preach that where I've discovered you and found out about you. And I was like, that was such a good interview. I was like, man, this guy's doing this thing. And then I started following you up on more. So once again, Preach, thank you for everything. Vibe Tribe family on the raid. So yeah, getting back to that. So yeah, that was my introduction to it. But I didn't know I was being introduced to anything. It would be like, this would be like a Sunday afternoon. The family's getting together. They're eating some good food on a Sunday, which is like really huge in Caribbean culture. Sundays is very special. And I guess because they trusted me or they knew I was able to do it, like I said, I would be the one. They would have the stack of records. You know what I mean? The records are playing. So if you want to keep the vibe continuously going, you got to keep on changing the record song after song. We're talking about 45. So you got about 3 minutes.
Okay, hold up.
So I guess.
Can you break down for all the people who might not know what a 45 is off the jump?
I think they know. 45s are like really big back again.
Yeah, but we got like people in Norway's watching. We got kids that are gonna watch this. We got all the peoples.
So for the future watchers and for the kids, a 45 is a 7-inch record made out of vinyl. The typical vinyl is 12 inches. The 45 is 7 inches. It's a lot smaller. They were really huge in the 60s and the 70s and the early days. Most of the singles only used to come out on 45. And then if it was an album, it would come out on the 12-inch. Later, of course, that changed. 45 started to fade away, and everything was being done via the 12-inch. So think about it. A 7-inch record was the 45. Good to put a centerpiece in there to hold it from flying off the turntable.
Okay, I didn't know that's what that piece was for. I knew what a 45 was. I never really connected to that's what that piece was for. So for all y'all out there that are just want to paraphrase that, because again, just in case people don't fully follow that, maybe somebody's 12 and they're like, what the fuck did he just say? Basically, he had to switch it up like singles instead of albums. That's like a simple way to put it. But thanks for breaking it down. That's what we're doing here. We're using your brain to fill gaps of knowledge all over the place. And even the most mundane things to you might be exemplary and interesting to the next person watching this, which is why it's so cool that you're here sharing that expertise with all of us. So thank you again for that. All right.
No problem, man. No problem.
So we have you now, maybe let's say 10, 12. You've already got some DJ game going on. So you're already out there picking different records and taking a look at different stuff. So I guess what comes next in your little evolution here as you start to go through life? Are you starting to get an interest in DJing at this point? Are you one of those guys that's on the radio at this point, starting to make little mixtapes going on? Are tapes even part of your life at that point? I don't really know 1,000% the tech trends that people were up to at that point.
Right. DJing was not really. I'm not even sure, like, I fully knew what it was. Like, I saw it. Like, out of all the elements of the B-boy culture of that time, of that era when I was going through, the one that fascinated me the most was the dancing. We were into that heavily. The dancing caught my eye more, and the writing. That really caught my eye more than actually the DJing. But then as time progressed, like, I don't know, I didn't really choose it. I was always into music, though. And I would listen to the radio, and it was MC Mario. Could imagine from way back when. MC Mario was the guy.
I didn't even know he was in the game that long. Like, he's all part of my childhood.
MC Mario. Yeah. That dude has been there like from before I got into high school. MC Mario has always been on the radio in Montreal from my recollection, right? But he would have these mega mixes that would come on. I think it would be like 7 o'clock. It would be like the MC Mario Mega Mix or whatever it was. And it would be like a 15 or 20 minute mix. And what caught my attention was like, how are these songs changing? And I'm not hearing the transitions. And that is when I was like, I want to learn how to do that.
That's nifty. That's a really interesting like starting point. So are you in high school at this point?
I probably maybe with grade 6, grade 7-ish, I would say, yeah.
So already
I used to just bug out.
Like you've barely started, right? Like you've barely started life and you're already catching technical details that are going on. That's like really cool. Yeah. That's dope. So
I gravitated to anything musically.
So how do you actually manifest that? Because we're talking about like a pre-internet, like, for me growing up, there was always a Google. So what's it like to be in that era and actually having to learn how to do this on your own?
Well, that's a good question, man, because like you said, it's pre-internet. So like you can't search these things up. You can only see things in the live element, or you could catch them on radio. And like, so I would hear the radio, hear the mixes, but I'm not seeing it. I don't have a visual to put with it to try to figure out what exactly is going on. So basically my avenue for music back then, as anyone in that time, was you just what was on the radio, that's what we knew. Whatever few videos we would see, that's what we knew. Unless, we had a sibling or somebody that would visit New York and they come back with these hot tapes, and then it's like, it's crazy. It's all kind of shit we never heard of before, and it was like mind-blowing. But we didn't have the access to it.
Yo, let's pause and expand on what you just said there. That's actually big, something we don't think about. I actually kind of remember when the release dates between Canada and the States were different. But I don't really know what it was like because, again, internets and, music videos, everything's kind of popping when I'm in high school. Can you expand a little bit more on what it's like to be in Canada, having to deal with like a delay and trying to squeeze out what's hot from other cultures, or at least the States or whatever?
But you know what? At least for me at that age, at that time, maybe like the teens or the older guys at that time, they were aware of it. We were not aware of it. We were aware. We were exposed to what we had access to. Like if something came out in New York 2-3 weeks, we never heard of it. We didn't know it existed. So when it came to us, then it was new to us, even though New York might have been bumping it, 2-3 months before. And unless somebody physically brought it from New York, we didn't know what we were missing. Right. We didn't know what we were missing.
Okay, that's a really fair answer. All right, so I guess what are you doing then to, pursue the passion of learning how to blend songs perfectly from a 12-year-old age? Also, what high school did you go to?
I went to Sir Winston Churchill, which is now Laurel Hill.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah.
So back to how did you pursue this passion? Like, what was high school like musically for you? Was there a bunch of stuff popping in high school?
Oh, so like now, high school, now we're talking about, it's the Cold Chillin' era, Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane. Like, this is what's really bumping. Like Big Daddy Kane was like the Jay-Z of that time. Like,
right.
He was the dope guy. Everybody wanted his kicks, his hairstyles and whatnot. So I was heavily into that. But another thing, which I guess has helped me till this day, was that I never, ever, ever put music in a box. Like I would pick up that Big Daddy Kane or that Biz Markie record, but I would still be picking up Whitesnake or Guns N' Roses. I was a heavy into heavy metal music in my early days in high school. I went back and forth between heavy metal and hip hop.
Okay, let's talk about your favorite heavy metal acts of that era, just so that we get that down.
I'll tell you, the Iron Maiden definitely was one of the favorites. I don't know if it was because of Eddie and the whole thing, I got sucked into that. I had like the Poisons and the Whitesnakes, the Motley Crues. I was a fan of Motley Crue in those early days.
Yeah,
there was something. Let me break down something, and some of my people over 40 will know what I'm talking about. They had something that was called Columbia House Records back in the days.
Yeah.
And they had this promotion. I think you paid 99 cents and you would get like 12 cassettes. Nobody ever paid after that. We would get the cassettes, and it was done with that. And I guess the record labels made so much money, they never chased after any of us. So I paid my 99 cents or $1. And I will tell you, the majority of that dozens cassettes was like heavy metal stuff. I was heavily into that.
Yo, that's amazing. I know Columbia House. That's actually part of my story of getting into music. I can it was like Eiffel 65 was hot when I was
Oh
getting in the
yeah,
Columbia House. I remember seeing it saying Abu Di, Abu Dai in the Columbia House, and then there was this big debate going on. Anyway, that's not that important. But yeah, I know Columbia House pretty fucking well. So that's really
yeah.
cool of you to share that. That was so, like, that connects you to everybody here watching is going to connect you on that point. Be like, yo, I have that in common with Don Smooth. At least, so definitely early 30s is part of that group, and even younger. So Don Smooth is building up this fresh ass music collection via amazing tactics like Columbia House. He's into heavy
Yeah.
metal and all sorts of hip hop. And what else is going on in high school? What's that like for you with regards to it? Is hip hop popping off in your school? Are you seeing people become rappers? Like, is stuff actually going on? I don't know anything about what it's like to be in this era, but you said hip hop was really starting off in Montreal at this point.
So like I said, so now we've reached the high school age. Now this is the time, like I said, this is the mid to late 80s era. This is, like I said, when the Cold Chillins are really big, the KRS Ones are coming out, the MC Shans. This is the whole Queensbridge, South Bronx era when they're going back and forth with each other and whatnot. This is at least at the beginning anyhow. So like the hip hop culture is hitting. People are starting to travel to the States and bring back the clothes, and they bring it back. Now we got more video. So now we're getting more visuals, what's going on. They're making more, we're seeing a lot more music videos. So now we have a much better view. We can see everything that's going on, as opposed to in the 80s, we weren't seeing things as much. But at this point in time now, late 80s, we're seeing everything fully. We're fully aware of the culture, the fashion. It's just a little Greyhound ride to New York City to go down there, and you could be rocking the same Jordans that you see in the videos. And we had all the hairstyles, and everything like that. It was moving really fast. Like you saw it everywhere. Like the girls had the big, the door knocker earrings, like the rope chains, like you saw it. It was very visible.
That's amazing. And at this point, are you still involved in music, or are you just a fan kind of growing through it? Like, I don't know exactly when your career starts, so I feel like at some point you start to get more like invested into music directly.
I'm still a fan. Like I love entertainment, so I would be going to any little shows, any like underage teen shows that I was able to go to. Checkers used to do a lot of shows. We used to just go and watch the dudes breaking the Spectrum, legendary spot in Montreal. But at this point in time now, I'm in high school. I'm doing music now. So now I'm learning music, but from the theoretical side. And
because you said
in the
you
music
were
class
chosen
now,
the music program.
yeah, I chose the music program. So now I'm like, I dabbled with instruments as a kid, but nothing really like fully. But now I'm actually learning theory and counting bars and measures and how to read music. And actually, I was playing a saxophone, alto saxophone. I started that when I was like 13 years old. And I played that for most of my years in high school. Played in the high school band and all of that stuff, playing saxophone. So then that split my music. Like there was always the music, like the records, but I didn't take it as anything. I was just collecting music. But then I really started getting into learning how to play it.
So at this point, then you're definitely getting music theory because you're learning the saxophone, and there's no way you're in a band. Are you doing like choreographies? Are you like doing marchings and whatnot, or is it like?
No, we didn't have marching band, but it was the type of thing where like, we had the school band, so like maybe we would go perform at another school, or we would go and perform at like the elementary school when they're trying to do open houses to get the next generation of kids to come over there and stuff like that.
Oh, that's dope. That's still great. It shows a really big value of participating in your school band should one be available, because Don Smooth learned a whole lot, and look at his life today. It's definitely been a value. That's a little knowledge nugget for y'all. But like, what happens then? Does high school end before you start your career, or like what? Do you go to Cégep? Like,
no, I always say like Don Smooth the DJ. It started at actually before Swinston. I even left that out. I went to a junior high. I went to a French junior high to learn French between grade 7 and 9, also in the Saint Laurent area, not too far from Swinston. So that's where I did all the band stuff actually. So at this point in time now, it's a junior high, right? So it's grade 7 to 9. So when you're in grade 9 now, you get to be the ones to play music. They used to have like parties at lunchtime in the cafeteria. So you had to be the grade 9 kids were the ones that were able to do this. So we're in grade 7, I'm in grade 7 and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, like this is so dope. Like, it's a party. Everybody's excited. There's like so much energy in the room. And I'm like, I'm looking at the DJ and I'm like, this is the guy that's doing all this. This is the guy that's controlling this crowd, controlling this room, dictating the energy. And I mean, I'm not thinking about it that technically at 13 years old, but I just basically said, I want to do that. I was like, that's some cool shit. Like I saw what he was doing, the reaction he was getting. I was like, I want to do that. And that's where I really started saying, yeah, I'm going to start looking into this. And it was my goal in grade 7. I was like, when I'm grade 9, I'm going to be the guy that's going to be doing that. And it's something that a lot of the guys wanted to do. But I had it in my head. I was like, when the time comes around, I'm making sure I get that gig.
All right. So how did Don Smooth get that gig? Or did you get that
Truth
gig?
be told, you know what? It's how I knew how to position myself, right? Like we also had a dance program, like I mentioned. So from grade 7, I volunteered. I would come and help set up the speakers, or I would carry the speakers or carry the tape decks and carry the mixer. So I made sure that I was positioning myself to get close to that environment. So that just continued grade 7 to grade 8. I would get a bigger role or more responsibility. So by the time I got to grade 9, it was almost like naturally, like, who else are we going to put there? This guy has been there since grade 7. I'll be the one doing the odd jobs that nobody wanted and carrying wires and the speakers and all that. So by the time it came to grade 9, I just walked right into it pretty much.
Yo, y'all know what he just told y'all? That's some big time knowledge nuggets. That's like some secrets of success. Like if you read corporate business books, it'll tell you what Don Smooth told you in a tiny anecdote. Look at what needs to be done. Learn your shit. Be available. Don't say no. Those are all parts of what you said. I'm just kind of paraphrasing it a little bit.
I got you.
And in the end, he outshined his competition because I bet all those other people were like, no. And whatever, but Don Smooth was there. So whenever people looked around and they needed somebody to get it done, Don Smooth was there. And then what happened? Don Smooth accomplished his goal. That's amazing. That's some big time.
But like, Holden and everybody in the chat, we know this. Like, whether it's the 80s and 90s or now, you put in that work. You put in the work and the consistency. If there's one thing, I know people on Twitch, you guys are going to pop in and out throughout this interview. It's as basic as I can make it. Consistency and put in that work. It sounds cliche, but they say, what is it they say about luck? It's when opportunity and preparedness come together. That's what it is, man. There's no luck. Put in the work. Something will come of it. Maybe it won't come right away or as fast as you want, but it will come. And consistency.
I love it. And I'm just pointing it out because sometimes I know we all know things, but what I've learned in life is hearing things you already know is a great reminder to stay focused on the goals you have. So hearing it again every day is probably great mantras. So I don't mind having everybody come through say the same thing so I can one day go, yo, check it. Everybody who came through said the same thing. That's like a powerful argument, you know?
Hey, I'm still doing it till this day, right? So
that is part of what makes you legend. Because longevity in this game, wow. That's all I can say is wow. Like, that is an impressive feat. And not just longevity. People fucks with you to this day. No dirt on your name.
Well, thanks to all them people, man. I thank you all.
So let's go back into it. Now you're in grade 9. You're DJ Don Smooth. Can you tell us a bit about, some of the stuff that happened? Do you have any cool stories about being, a 15-year-old DJ? I mean, you must have been popular with the ladies.
It was, I did okay. Definitely get a little more attention. But I had 2 stories from what I can remember from the high school days. Was same thing I told you with the band, right? So one year we had some exchange band. So a band came from New York. So we had a band from New York, and it's like it was the lunchtime and we were doing this party. So they didn't leave right away. They did a performance in the morning, and they came to party with us. So here I am now. This is totally different now. I'm okay playing for my high school friends, but now here we got a room full of New Yorkers now. And I got to come and rock and play for them. And like New York, they're going to let you know. Like, they'll let you know real fast, if you suck. If you're shit, they're going to let you know immediately. Holden, I swear you not. I don't even remember, I know Cameo, Word Up, and Oran Juice Jones was popping. Meanwhile, I'm usually playing Madonna and Cyndi Lauper is the type of stuff that we were playing. And I went to school with a lot of Greeks, so they were heavily into that freestyle music, Stevie B and Cynthia and all of that stuff. So I don't know where it came from. It just came from within, and I just pulled out as much urban stuff as I could find. And I put on Push It, Salt and Pepper. This is in the height of it. This is when Salt and Pepper was, I can't even describe it in words. And the place went bananas. And the local kids, the regular kids, they had never seen anybody react that way. So they just went crazy too and destroyed it. From that was that was a super highlight for me.
That's amazing. And I guess that
was crazy.
That must have given you a bug, right? Because I think a lot of people who perform, and that's performing. In some way, they have that moment where like they just taste it and they're like, yo, I'm addicted. I need this again. I can see how you have that moment and it becomes your passion for like the rest of your life. Like it might have been, I could have been like the moment became a passion, like flame got lit. That's dope. I'm so glad you shared that with us because yo, that's your story.
And it was awesome. I could still see it till this day. Like I could still see the dance floor.
That's dope, man. And I was here. Which school was it at your school? Where was
that was
it?
at my school. That was at École Secondaire Saint Laurent, which is in Ville Saint Laurent as well. And it was bananas. I still remember it to this day, man. I felt so much pressure. I was like, how am I gonna rock this crowd? Like this is New York. This is the music mecca. Everything comes out of there, so they know their shit inside out. You know what I mean? And they went crazy. The reaction was great, and it made everybody react the same.
That's amazing.
It was beautiful.
That's like a great litmus test, by the way. If you ever want to test your skills, impress the New York people. If you do, stay confident. You're good for the rest of your life.
And then let me just add, and another story that they popped in now that I was telling you that was.
Go for it, man. Everyone wants to hear it.
This is like I said, we're still in the late 80s. 2 Live crew, Uncle Luke is making noise now. Don Smooth, there was a song, everybody say, hey, and I don't have to say the rest.
That's
I was warned by the principal. The principal saw the album covers because they would check what we were doing and stuff. The principal saw the album cover and said, Don, like, you know, you can't play stuff like this inside the school. But 15 years old, you know the reaction that you're going to get. I put on. Everybody say, hey, we want some pussy. I put it on. And the whole auditorium, the cafeteria, is just singing along. Principal comes down, takes the record right off the turntable in the middle of the party.
That is fucking incredible, my guy. I love that. I bet that.
And then he proceeded to go through and take out my Ice-T records and a bunch of other stuff.
So what I'm hearing is you were already a legend in high school because there's no way you weren't a legend after that. That's the type of shit that makes high school kids legends, okay? That's the type of shit like people actually talk about 20 years later. Remember that time Don Smooth put... You know, that's that shit. That's amazing that it started so young.
It's something I didn't forget.
That's dope. I'm sure there's other people that remember. Personally, I don't remember it, but that's glad because I'm not going to forget that for the rest of my life because it's a fucking dope story.
It was crazy.
So what else happened in high school that's dope after grade 9? So you're DJ man. As it progresses, what happens?
So basically, So I'm doing the parties and whatnot. I'm still playing my saxophone on the side, but that was something that was just being done at school. Like I wasn't really doing it at home as much. So now we're getting it. I'm leaving that school now. Junior high is over. I go to Winston. So I come into grade 10 now. So keep in mind, I came from a school that was predominantly, it was mostly Greek, Asian. It wasn't as mixed to say. It wasn't super diverse, right? Going over to Swinston now. Swinston is like the flavor spot. So Swinston is well mixed. Like there's a large amount of everybody. So it's very well diversified now, right? So I'm going over there now, and it was like they were like heavily into the clothes and the gear and the style, and everybody was fresh, and like it seemed like everybody would go to New York and do their shopping before school in September, and people were rocking, you know, all the hot fashions at the time. So now I got to step my game up. I'm a new face, you know. I'm coming in grade 10, and there's people that have been there since grade 7 that have already made their name or, you know, become who they are. So I'm coming in, I'm new, but due to playing basketball right away, playing on the basketball team, made friends really quick, and we would travel for our basketball games. Always had a boombox to do our warm-ups and all of that. Big Daddy Kane was always the music that we were bumping to when we were doing the warm-up. So music is always there. So, but now I'm collecting music more. Now I'm going to New York in the summertime. Now I'm getting the mixtapes in New York. So and getting the clothes and getting the gear. So I'm getting into it deep.
Do you know what year this is approximately? Late 80s? Daddy Kane's what? Late 80s, early 90s?
Big Daddy Kane is like 88, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's like that era, at least the beginning.
Around 88.
So you're telling us that you're popping down to New York City in fucking 88 while hip hop's popping off. Do you have like any memories of what it's like to be in the Mecca while hip hop's popping off during that era, going down, collecting music?
Well, you have to keep in mind now, at this point in time now, like the 80s at that point, I think these are the Ed Koch years when Ed Koch was the mayor, and New York was pretty much like a very wild place at the time. It's calmed down a lot since then, if you can imagine that. But you keep in mind these times, because West Indians, once again, goes back to the Caribbean culture. You know, we got a lot of family in Toronto. We got family in New York. So for me, I was going down there. I was probably like 15 years old. So I'm not going to the clubs. I'm not hanging out on the block. I'm going to downtown Brooklyn. I'm buying my music. I'm buying my clothes. And like, I'm ready to go back to Montreal that day. Like, I have no interest in doing anything else. I go, I get my kicks, I get my music, and like, I'm ready to go home. I wasn't really venturing out. So I can't really say at that age I experienced it fully.
But you also just told us how focused and driven to your cause you are. You have missions for your trip. You weren't just vapidly going. And you accomplished your goals, and you stayed focused, and you didn't let people distract you into other things. Those are other knowledge nuggets that lead to success in a person's life. So just sharing that educated everybody on how to be more G about their business.
Oh, no, man. I was a sneaker junkie. Two things I had to get in New York. I had to get sneakers, and I had to get records. Like, once my money was done, that was it. Like, it was ready to go home. I wasn't visiting, hanging out. I was ready to go.
Dope. So... all right, so high school's going on. You got fresher. You're now keeping up to date with the music. You're playing basketball. Yeah. You're doing all of that. I guess at some point you graduate and life moves on into a new era for Don Smooth. And what is that era?
Well, before even all that, like while I was in high school.
Let's go back to that. I don't want to skip stuff.
I was, we used to hang out. Shout out to my people from Park X, man. There's so many to name. I don't want to name some and forget some. But a big thing for us, what we used to do, we used to go and hang out at the YMCA, which is actually at the corner of St. Peter and Park Avenue. But it didn't look like what it does now. Like, it was like a borderline condemned building when we used to go there. So we used to go there after school. Shout out to Brian, Master B. He was the guy that used to run the YMCA back then. So now it was like kids from Park X, kids from Uptown, my people from the East End. We would all come together at this rec center after school and on weekends, and they had like turntables and they had equipment. And then that's when I really started messing with this. And I was like, man, I need to get my own shit. And once again, New York was always my go-to. I went to New York and bought my turntables. But yeah, in high school years, when I started to get more serious with it, we were down and we were practicing. Like, we had a crew, 2 rappers, 3 dancers. I was the DJ Fresh D. And we took that shit
thanks
serious.
For the
like,
bits,
we would
Bionic Pixie. You know how the bits go when they
thank you, Bionic
bits.
Pixie. But yo, let me throw in something, because like I want to give my credit, you know what I mean? The same way that, you know, you're showing me so much love, and I get so much love from the people in the chat and people in Montreal. I gotta, you know, paint a picture of the people that I came up that influenced me, man. And it was like LDG, DJ Tough, you know what I mean? These were the dudes. Like, when I got serious about DJing now, I'm talking about 15, 16, these dudes were like the Red Alerts and the Cool Hercs of Montreal. Like, they were legends, and they were still in their 20s. They were already legends. Like, they were going to New York and coming back with all the hot shit. Like, they were the trendsetters on a whole nother level. And it's like, they were, till this day, if you speak to a lot of DJs of that era and even more recently, they'll tell you that, you know, that's your favorite DJ's favorite DJ is one of those 2 guys. Like, I came up under that. Like, that's what molded me. For me, it was like, that's where I want to be. In grade 7, I wanted to be the guy playing the music at the lunchtime sock hops. And then when I got into the DJ world and I discovered the sounds of LDG, DJ Tough, I was like, that's where I want to be. Like, that was in a whole nother level.
Yo, big thanks, because at least for me, that's a lot of stuff I have to Google that I never heard of before. And that's kind of what it was with you. No offense, but like somebody started saying your name. I'm sure it was Preach. Yo, the Preach interview, let's be real. It was like 2 hours of Preach lecturing me on stuff I should have known before I talked to Preach. And it was a big lesson in my life. And
that's my guy, man. Preach.
Yo, shut up, Preach. Honestly, I appreciate that guy big time. But yo, shout out to the youth center thing. You don't know how many, maybe you don't, but like at least 5, 6, 7 times now it's come up that like a youth center where people congregate and do music. And honestly, there's one on Harley Street where I was living out on Elmhurst for a minute. Like, right, and they got like a studio built into it. And this shit is so impactful for youth. So many people who got exposed to music like that including Mr. Don Smooth here, ended up having pretty solid fucking careers for the rest of their lives. So maybe like if y'all are seeing some financial issues with a youth center in your neighborhood or some shit, fucking invest in it or do something for it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, these things are crucial for people. I'm fucking crucial for youth. And yo, I just like to find the patterns, right? Like, yo, if everybody who's successful has certain experiences happening, maybe these are things we should try to replicate more of in society. So thank you for sharing that as well.
Definitely, you got to give the youth something to do with their time. You know what I mean? And we would be at that center, and that would keep us away from anything else. And we were putting all of our energy into that, into something positive. You know what I mean? The city got to provide outlets for the youth, man. Give them something to do.
Yo, thanks for the bits, Preach, and a couple other people I missed. I'm sorry, Audiophile, and thanks, and DJ Conspiracy. Yeah, I'm not used to having this much function action on the stream. This is a first. It's fun. It's like I can't even read the chat anymore. I don't know how y'all do this. Shout out you DJs, man, because I see your shit. It's like I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? But, respect. I guess that's what the experience of the game comes with. But yeah, so I guess I don't know if there's a whole lot more going on inside a high school that's worth exploring. Because again, man, you're dropping nuggets that either people will relate to or learn from. And that's making it fire for each one that you drop.
Well, I would just end off with the high school phase, just saying, so at this point now, it's like, all right, I'm going after this fully. I got my equipment. I'm starting to DJ a little bit more outside, but still like, you know, just inside the basement, still a bedroom DJ. But with that, my group Fresh and New, we won a rap competition at Checkers nightclub. I think it was like 91 or something like that. So now I've entered into another world now. So now I've entered into the club world with promoters and people that book shows, and then things started to change a little bit from there.
All right. We should talk a lot about how things changed from there.
Well, like I said, Tough and LDG were those guys, right? So Gary T which is one of like legendary promoters. That's somebody that if you want to talk about Montreal history, you got to talk to Gary T. Like he was like the ultimate promoter. Like he brought the shows. Him and Ricky D, they brought all the shows to Montreal in the early 80s. And so basically, I had confidence now. I'm like, okay, we went out here, we rocked this show at the Checkers with a bunch of strangers. It's not just our friends telling us that we're good. And I started branching out. I was like, it's time to do this more regular. So I reached out to Gary T, and he started giving me, little chances here and there. I would come and play the music when they're setting up the bar. You know what I mean? Nobody's in the club. You play for like that first hour, 2 hours. And when the crowd comes, then your time is up. You know what I mean? You be the warm-up guy. But that's okay, because you got to do that. You got to earn your stripes.
Yo, did you hear what he just said, everybody? Hold up. We got to pause, because not everybody knows that lesson. You got to learn your stripes. Sometimes you got to be the opener with no crowd to make the show get good. Sometimes you just have to play that role. And again, Don Smooth, legend, still in the game today. Don Smooth did these things. This isn't me going and just shoving it out there. Nobody can argue with me now. Don Smooth did that with his actions. He played the parts that needed to be played to gain the reputation and clout that required to move up the food chain of life in the entertainment industry.
Oh, yeah, man. It's not, as with anybody, any DJ could probably tell you this. How many parties in the beginning? There was nobody there. You play for an empty. When I say empty, I mean just the bartenders and security. But you know what? You got to play the whole night. And half the time, you're not getting paid. Because if nobody shows up, the promoter don't want to pay you. But you know what? Whereas some people would have said, fuck this, I'm done with that. I kept on coming back and doing it. For me, it was like, all right, I'm getting to practice with loudspeakers. It's all good.
Yeah, and I know I wasn't talking to DJs. I was talking to rappers, okay? I know rappers. This was all for rappers, everything I just said there. Pay attention, folks. Don Smooth's career is legend, all right? Let's do the things guys like Don Smooth did. I'm saying for a minute now, let's follow the DJs. Let's follow their moves. They seem to have a different approach, and they seem to have longer fucking careers that pay better. So I'm looking at the different things. I'm like, yo, come on, rappers. Let's look at this a little differently. What can we do smarter? One of the things we suck at is those empty shows and putting that grind in and playing our part like that. And I'm not saying across the board. There are obviously many people that do everything wonderful, etc., etc. This is for those that maybe need to hear it, if the shoe fits and all, because Don Smooth's story is fucking dope. And I love taking any lessons we can take out of it, however they may be. But that's cool. So you're doing the opener sets. You're basically grinding it through, but you're learning the circuit. And I'll bet you're meeting people as you're doing this. And I bet as you're doing this more, even you're meeting the guys that you're opening with, different bar peoples, you know, your networks, your little black book of names is probably good. Because you probably, how did you keep track of people? Like, this is a sincere question. I have to think about this now. I use social media fucking religiously. I don't even remember phone numbers. You had to, like, do social media before social media. Like,
Yeah.
how did you logistically do this?
Well, it was nothing to think about because you're thinking about it now after having the technology. But at that time, you just conducted business that way. You worked with what you had at the time, which of course was like phone numbers. Unless you were super rich and you had that big brick Motorola, which, you know, only a handful of people had their hands on those. We had pagers. We did a lot of the communicating was through pagers.
Did you use
agendas?
I mean?
You would have your phone number stored like on pieces of paper or whatever. What you didn't remember.
We're fucking spoiled. I gotta think. Like, I'm just trying to picture. Because you know what it is? I got rid of paper in my life when I realized I was writing notes in these notebooks at work, and it took me like fucking 45 minutes to make sense of shit after, and I'm like, this is an inefficient waste of time. But if you don't have another way, right? Just think about it. You hit search, you find a person, it's done. It's easy. It takes literally 3 seconds. You had to look for stuff. We are spoiled as fuck.
But once again, you're thinking about it because you're aware of the stuff. At
That's
the
fair.
time, we didn't feel like we were missing anything. You wanted to call somebody, you looked in a phone book or you looked in a piece of paper and you called them. And it wasn't like it was difficult or stressful for us. It was like we thought nothing of it. But yeah,
I respect
that's how you
that.
collected. Yeah.
As much as I believe you're absolutely correct, I'll still think it's worth appreciating the way the world is today instead of complaining about it as much. So
Oh,
if I'm
hell
like,
yeah.
just looking at your story like that and thinking about it, I'm like, yo, I gotta be a little more humble sometimes. Yo, Don Smooth had to like post it his life.
Hey, you could talk to people in the chat. I'm one of the I mean, it's not that I hate talking to people. I love using the social media and the texting. I find that it's way more efficient. We communicate faster. When you get on the phone, sometimes, you know, it gets a lot of rambling goes on. I embrace technology. I love it. I'm not one of, I don't fight it at all.
I appreciate that. I love the fact that you even said that because people sometimes can be a little bit afraid of technology. So Don Smooth, embrace y'all. But y'all are doing it though. Y'all are on Twitch. Y'all are fucking crushing it. Can I just if y'all are not fucking following Don Smooth, it is mandatory to follow Don Smooth on Twitch and go show some fucking
I like that.
love.
Mandatory.
It's mandatory. The guy did so much for the city and he's there. It's like anybody out there that's like, yo, Don Smooth, good memories. Go fucking show love. Like, it's that easy. It's mandatory to me, in my opinion.
I appreciate that.
You don't have to agree with me. But you should, because go follow Don Smooth. All right, so let's go back to your story, because I like the tangents, but I do want to make sure that because I don't know if we'll finish your whole story in part 1. I'm hoping there's a part 2 in the future, I'm not going to lie. But, like, I feel like it's worth documenting it all, you know, like whatever we can get through. Because if it takes multiple parts and we get, like, the complete Don Smooth experience, we can, you know, maybe, who knows, maybe release it as a super video one day. Fucking potential in the future's there.
We got time, brother. That's what we can do. That we can do a part 2 for sure.
I just don't want to make you feel like we were rushed and you gotta miss shit, because yo, people's fucking with it. And I know that because people always love this shit. They always love hearing about you, the person that they looked up at. They like hearing about your regular stuff, the stuff that you consider regular, and then all of us are like, yo, that's fucking fire. So that's why this is dope. And then it's not rushed. Nobody ever has to stress. And then you can tell us all sorts of crazy fucking stories about what it's like to be popping off in the clubs in the late 80s, early 90s in Montreal, being a fucking DJ. Even if it's an empty night.
It was good times.
Like, shit, if I had that on my resume, I'd be fucking bawling in my mind.
So I officially marked 1992 is when I consider like the birth of Don Smooth, because that's when I started to get paid. Like all the other years, I was never getting paid to DJ, but that's when I actually started getting paid. So that's when it became professional. So I marked 92 as my official starting year. And my first big gig, I was like, I came out the gate real strong. I opened up for Ice Cube and the Lynch Mob, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, WC and the Mad Circle. Who else was? And Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo actually didn't make it to the show. That was my like, boom, here you are. See what you can do with this.
Did you hear what the guy just said? Almost like, I mean, he tried to get away casually. It's just too much, man. Yo, first of all, I love all the names you mentioned. And that is like some fucking golden eras for a lot of these people that you mentioned.
It was crazy.
And you were the guy that like did the opening DJ set, because I saw Wu-Tang recently, and they had like a DJ who came through and did like a fucking bless ass set for an hour, and it was a much better time than what the sound engineers did to Wu-Tang. It wasn't Wu-Tang's fault. It is what it is.
So
what I'm understanding is, in that kind of a context, you're the dude that's opened up.
I was the dude. Yeah.
Bro, that is amazing. People need to know this.
It was at the Rialto Theater, man, and it was in February 1992. I remember it so clearly, and it's like, not only like I was the opening guy, but the way it was done then, shit was more casual. Like you got away with a lot more. The hip hop, it wasn't so regimented with the tour managers get involved in and everything. So like I literally was on stage for the whole show, offside to the stage, and I played in between every act. Whereas now it's like you're a warm up guy. Once your time is done, the show starts. You go away. It's this start time. But I was the one playing in between the acts.
Okay, so literally you would be there. So you're on stage with these guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and I remember WC in the Mad Circle. At this point in time, WC in the Mad Circle is not really super known. Like, you know of them, but they didn't. This is pre Gangster's Paradise and all the shit that Coolio did after. So I just remember like they would come in real casual. They're always smoking, and they were doing their sound.
Smoke back then.
Inside. Now, wouldn't you trade that? Wouldn't you like to go back to that time?
Dude, I turned 18 the year it became illegal. I never. Oh. So imagine that. Imagine the literally 17 people can smoke in bars. I'm a goodie. I'm not doing this shit. I turned 18. I'm in the West Island. All the bars in the West Island close.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, this is crazy to hear about. Because again, I don't get those moments.
Show, Blunts was like mandatory to hip hop show. Like that was they went hand in hand. So here I am. I'm at the sound check now, and it's Crazy Tunes was the DJ. It was Dub C, Coolio. At this point in time, I don't really know who these guys are. I know the name, but I'm not really familiar with the music. I wasn't buying a lot of West Coast music, and I just remember Coolio just freestyling and twisting his hair. That's pretty much what I remember the most about that. And like Crazy Tunes was real nice on the cuts when he was warming up. But the best part of that show, so the show was crazy. So Del the Funky Homo Sapien, this is the Mr. Bobalina, Dobalina era. I played that record before Del went on stage.
Hold up,
being a rookie.
Is that a party foul?
Being a rookie, I found out that night, but that's how I learned that lesson. The manager lost his shit. I don't know how they didn't throw me out. They were outraged. They shut everything down, and I was hearing it like crazy. But they managed to let me still continue and do my thing regardless of that. But that was a lesson I learned. It's like, okay, anytime you're DJing a show, never play any of the artists that are on the show. None of their music, especially the hits. But that was me being a kid and not a teenager. I didn't pick up on it. I just got carried away. I was like, oh man, the crowd is so hype. And I just dropped it, not realizing, no, you don't do that. It's not cool. So I learned a lesson with that. But that night ended very well. This, like I said, hip hop was not the glamour, multi-million business that it is now, or multi-billion, I should say. End of the night comes now. Black Sheep was there as well.
Wow.
Ice Cube's lynch mob has no transportation. So a bus has come for Ice Cube. WC has been picked up. Black Sheep's been left behind. The lynch mob's been left behind. And we're like, yo, this is how casual shit was back then. So me and my dude, he had a van that brought my stuff there. We're like, yo, we'll take you guys to the hotel. Hop in the ride. We're driving around Montreal with the lynch mob and Drez from Black Sheep. They're smoking down the van. And we're like, 17, 18 years old. And this is like, it was insane. That's how casual shit was. So we're in the car now. So these guys are like, they're smoking down the van like crazy. Because that's one thing. They always respected Montreal weed. When rappers came up here, one of the first thing those rappers wanted, they wanted the Montreal weed. News traveled very quickly on the quality of Montreal weed. That's one thing I could tell you that was consistent backstage. they always wanted Montreal weed. That was mandatory before they performed.
That's
So
amazing.
they're smoking in the van, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy, like, this is the lynch mob. This is Drez, like, after engine number 9 days. Like, I'm blown away. But we gotta play it cool, right? Like, okay. And so we're driving now. We wanted to go to an after party. We were going to go to Checkers, but then we got there, like, it was too crazy. And I guess, like, the security didn't want to be responsible for having them guys in the club and whatnot. So it was like, they didn't really care. So we continued going on to bring them to the hotel. The whole ride now, my buddy's bumping one of my mixtapes because I was always making mixes. But back then, it was not a mixtape game. I made one copy. I put it in my friend's car, and we would drive around wherever we go, and that was our soundtrack. So Lynch Mob's like, yo, that's dope, man. I want that cassette. And in my mind, I'm like, that's my masterpiece. I only have one copy. And my buddy's like, what are you doing, man? Like, the guy's like, yo, gave me $20 US. I was like, here, you can have that. Take that. Go ahead, you can have that. I'll make another one. But I didn't even want to part with that cassette. But he was like, yo, man, that cassette's dope, man. I want it. And my natural reaction back then was like, I didn't have a copy. I wanted my mixtape. I was not giving it away regardless. But dude gave me $20 US. I was like, all right, man, you can have that. And my buddy's like, dude, that's the Lynch Mob. Your mixtape is going to California right now. Like, your music's going to LA.
My dude, that's amazing. Define your mixtape. Let's pretend that, like, again, there are always going to be people here that might just hear that nomenclature and it just goes over their head what that really means. What is a Don Smooth mixtape? What is on this mixtape that fucking went to California with the Lynch Mob?
Oh, man, it would probably be like a lot of Brad Nubian, I would say at that time. Maybe like Jungle Brothers vibes. It was on some De La Soul type shit. It was like, we're talking 92, right? So it's right before the Nas and the Biggies. So very, very East Coast. I always played a lot of East Coast stuff, but it was all hip hop stuff.
Fair enough.
You know, you would get the Souls of Mischief and different things of that nature. Like, I was heavily into stuff like that.
That's a pretty eclectic mix, though, right? Because at that time, as I understand it, it's not as simple to, like, get stuff from all over. Yes, a lot of this stuff was popping, but you got, like, some underground fucking West Coast shit with that Souls of Mischief. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I know it's hot now, but, like, that wasn't, like, the biggest shit, as I understand it, right?
No.
So
and Camp Low.
But
I loved Camp Low.
But you also had that next to the fucking De La Soul.
Yeah.
That's New York. That's a whole different, or Jersey. They might be Jersey. I might be wrong. That part of the world.
They're still considered from that tri-state area.
So, do y'all hear how good that ear is so early on? I just want people to, like, know that is actually fucking impressive, especially in a pre-fucking YouTube era, my guy. Like, that is worth noting about. I'm duly impressed. Duly impressed.
Well, like I said, at this point in time, I'm immersed in it. So I'm studying the music, and I'm like on top of what's going on now. I'm a junkie. I'm in the record store every week, waiting to see what's coming out. Like, that was my job. I would go downtown to get the hip hop records. I would go uptown to get the calypso and the reggae records. Like, I was traveling. That was my routine. Every Thursday and Friday, I'm in the record store.
That's amazing. And I say it's amazing because, like, you say it so, like, yo, that's just what it is. But, like, I understand a little bit what it is to go through a musical journey where you condense a lot of new listening on a frequent basis over and over again for a long period of time. By no means am I a DJ, but I went through that as an album reviewer. So the actual level of effort it takes to consume that much new music frequently is actually high. Like, it's not the simplest task or thing. Like, it is an effort of discipline because there might be some days you just don't feel like doing it. And you still probably did it because that's what you do.
But you know what? To be honest, it never felt like that. Like, I would sit down. I could just sit there and listen to music for hours on hours. And I know my mother started getting concerned. She was like, man, she's like, you're spending what are you doing with all of these records? Like, it's starting, I think she started getting concerned because it was started taking up a lot of space. And she's like, oh my God, what is my son doing? He's spending every penny he has on vinyl and music. And to them, you look crazy because, you know, they're coming from a record collection. Maybe they got 50 records, and here now I got them by the 100, and they're taking up space. And she's like, don't you think you have enough? And I'm like, you don't get it. I can't stop. I got to keep buying.
And that I don't get it adds with, and this time being your age where you're at in history, there's this extra level of nobody knows what's coming. Nobody understands how this is really going to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
respect. That's again an effort of discipline. You still had to fight the battles to get there. I'm just saying there was a level of something you had to go through to overcome a hurdle. I'm sorry, but you're just too incredible. Like that, even if it's like the financial discipline of having the money to be able to maintain that habit, because that sounds like a pricey habit.
A very pricey habit. We're talking, records. A vinyl was, maybe $7, $8, and then over the years, then it went up to like maybe $10 each. And it's like, you go to the record store, you want to leave there with 30, 40 records, but that's, $300, $400. You know what I mean? Like,
Good investment, if you ask me. Turned out
I
real
still,
well.
I still got all of my vinyl.
All of it. Yo,
I,
you ever gonna do a vinyl tour stream? Let's ask a
you know,
modern
I,
question.
I would love to do it, and maybe I will. That will take time just because I have everything in storage, and to do it properly, to go through everything. But I would love to do it just to go back and get the feel and show people that side. I've seen a couple of DJs doing it, and I respect that. Like, give people a different look, because everybody sees the laptop DJ, but a lot of people are not seeing that element. Like the record actually comes off. Like
I'm
I
gonna
put on
say
another one.
is if you ever open up a YouTube channel and as Don Smooth talks about a record and you make 7 to 15-minute videos of you describing your love and passion of particular records, I would subscribe to that and then hit up that Patreon after. Is all I'm saying.
Truth be told, I have. There's been a Don Smooth YouTube page for years that I did, Don Smooth 514, and I just posted like some stuff from the stuff that I caught at concerts and stage, and I have my interviews from the radio station. But to tell you the truth, like, and I wish that I had done more with it back then, as they always say in hindsight. If I knew then, if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now. I just used it. It was just like, okay, you got a YouTube page. When I go to concerts, I'll put up some footage, whatever is cool. But I was so into the moment and the live element. For me, it was all about the shows, being at the shows, being at the concerts, being at the parties and all of that. That, yeah, the streaming stuff was cool, but it wasn't my priority at that time.
I was saying just more in the future, as a future, I would watch you on YouTube doing that. Even just as
that's something we'll talk about.
I would personally watch that. So I'm saying, I'm sure a lot of people will watch that. I'm saying, Don Smooth's thoughts on classic records? Fuck, man, that's got to be something people want to hear about. Anyway, let's go back to your story. So you're in 92, 93, you're in a car, and you fucking just sold your fucking first mixtape.
Yeah, without planning to, yeah.
A celebrity.
Yeah, yeah.
You must feel like the shit. Like I don't know, what's that like?
But in hindsight, now I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that was a pretty epic moment. But I had the DJ mentality at the time. I wasn't thinking, yo, your mixtape, it's going global. A member of Ice Cube's inner circle got your mixtape, whether it does anything or not. The fact is they're aware of you. They've heard you. In my mind, I was really stuck on I only had one copy. That was my only copy. That was my premier thought. But yeah, whatever. They went along with it, and then after I appreciated it for what it was, and I said, man, that's actually pretty dope that like my mixtape is bumping out there in LA with Ice Cube and the Lynch Mob.
That's amazing. And I mean that. Like, that's a truly amazing story. Like, I'm thinking about it as a YouTube clip. How Don Smooth sold a fucking mixtape to the Lynch Mob. Like, I'd click on that. You'd click on that fucking video if it was somebody else's name. That's your story, though. That's what makes this incredible, is that we get these moments.
But Holden, when you're going through it, when you're looking back at it, it looks really dope and all that. But at the time, you're just living life. You're just on to the next. It's like, okay, that was a great moment, and we're constantly moving. You know what I mean? Looking back at it, I'm like, I've had some wonderful experiences, and I'm blessed. I'm very grateful. I've had some amazing experiences that I was like, that will last me a lifetime, man. I'm very grateful.
Still, you're sharing those with us, and a lot of people are reveling in them. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, like, we're still over 30 people watching, right? That's not like an insignificant number of people that care about your stories, right? And the chat still keeps going. Apparently Don owned his own record shop. He said, "Don't forget," but I don't know if I knew that. When did you own a record shop? Has that come in your story yet?
I was a manager at a record store. It was actually, shout out my guy DJ Quest. DJ Quest and myself were the managers at Street Sounds Records, which was actually the name of the radio show that I ended up doing many years later. So I guess, I don't know if that's a frequency thing. But yeah, it was a black-owned record store in Burgundy, across from Lionel Groom Metro Station. Shout out, it was owned by Eddie Lewis, John Soso, and the same DJ Tough, Mike Tough Williams. So they owned the shop, and they had me and Quest, because at this point now, Don Smooth, Quest, we're bumping in the clubs. Like we're the regulars, we're the guys in the club.
Point? Let's find a timeline.
This has to be 96.
All right, so if that's 96 and we're only at 92, that means it's the future, and we'll get there. But it's dope that it came up. Just in case we don't get there now, that's still fucking dope it came up. So good call asking that question, Mr. Forever Preach. Go follow Preach if you want to hear the fucking fire tunes and you're not already following him.
That's family, man. Forever Preach, that's family. And you know what? I know we're going back and forth and stuff, but it means so much to me when I hear Preach say that he bought his first record from me at Street Sounds. Like, the fact that I'm a part of somebody's memory. He literally just
put that on fucking chat. So I don't know if you read the chat or if that was just synergy, but I swear I was about to say that, and then you said it. That was fucking eerie.
Oh, wow. Because, like, I think I heard him say that with you. And I was like, the fact that I'm a part of someone's memory, but that's like, you can't put money on that. Like, that's invaluable for me.
So if that's a way that you can value currency, my guy, my channel is just full of people talking about you.
Thank you, everybody.
I
Thank
swear,
you for taking the time.
If I were to ballpark it, it's 15. It's about 15 people who have brought you up in a meaningful way, and not just like brought you up. I mean, your praises were sung. You are the guy. Your word and your taste meant so much to so many people. I can't make this up. It's all on the fucking channel. I can back that up. I don't have that, but one day we'll make a Don Smooth is the shit compilation if you want it. Fuck it, we'll do that one day. I'll tell my boy to start watching for Don Smooth is the shit clips, and we'll start collecting them, and then one day you'll get like a 2-hour straight video of people talking about Don Smooth.
This is classic.
I swear, this isn't like a claim I can make for anybody else that's claimed legend. And you're not even claiming legend. You're just
not at all.
Wow. But I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, that's going to be like in the future when we talk to a lot more people. So it's extra meaningful. But you can expect that one day. Just this montage of the Don Smooth praise coming up one day. Just because that's dope that it really, and I confidently know that in my list of Montreal artists coming up, your name's just gonna keep coming up because so many people did your freestyle thing. So many people did it and they all loved it. So many people listened. So many people called in on their phones. I got hung up on by Don Smooth and it was okay. Yo, Don Smooth, man, I went 5 times in a row. I'm the motherfucking champion of the world. You don't understand. It goes like that over and over and over again. The rest.
Well, I gotta be clear. I gotta be clear because there might be some blurred lines. I did a Montreal battle where it would be like 2 artists battle of the tracks. They used to battle on each other on my show. But then if you're talking about the freestyle on the air, that was actually off the hook with CKUT, with Buddha Blaze, Flow, and all of that.
So what's crazy is you're getting all the credit, even if you're gonna clarify it. I swear. You fucking get brought up.
I'm not gonna do that. Those are my dudes. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna.
That
take
makes you amazing.
That I didn't do.
That's the level of like grandeur your name's at. That like you literally have to clarify it because everyone else is remembering shit wrong. That's nuts, my guy.
Well, that's one element that they got blurred. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was on that show as well. I did the Off the Hook show with Buddha Blaze and Orion from Shades of Culture and Flow, but that was their show. That was their concept. So,
I mean,
credit to them.
Regardless of the concept, it was you that they remembered mattering. And I don't mean to take away from anyone else. I know everyone else is important. That's not the point. I just have the facts I have as presented to me as I go on this journey. Right. And that's actually why it's dope that you're here, because you can clarify some shit and make sure all the other people go flowers. This isn't meant to be the history part. The history part's down the line after the stories are collected part, right? Like, first we have to hear everyone out. Then we can see what the fuck is up, right? There's just so much data and information coming in. Even on this interview after, we're going to have to watch this. There's some names we're going to have to write down and fucking go put on lists and figure out who these people are. And it's going to create this picture so that, you know what, the future, the youth, they can go, I know who Don Smooth is and exactly what he did.
Well, that's great. You know, I mean, it's always good to know what came before, or it explains things. Like after this interview, you'll probably have a better understanding of the Montreal scene, like, because I'm taking you behind the curtain and you're seeing the inner workings of how a lot of things develop. Like I said, I was very fortunate to be in an era where I witnessed, I saw a lot of things at the transitional phases. So I saw what it was before and then what it became. So I really have a good understanding of it because of that. You know what I mean? I was in the clubs, I was in the house parties, the basement parties, when that's the only place you could hear urban music was a high school cafeteria on a Saturday night, to where it became the must go to music on Crescent and on Saint Laurent and in all the bougie places. Like I saw where it came from and where it went.
Yo, that's why you're so important, and that's why we have to get your story down. All right, so 92, 93, you sold your mixtape, you got over yourself, you understood how big it is. What happens next for you? What's going on in their life?
So now, like I said, things are growing more and more confidence DJing. So now it's like, at this point in time, you know, I think most DJs start out as bedroom DJs. Then you might start doing a little house party here and there. Started getting into doing like church basement parties. That's where a lot of the urban parties were back then. And then I would say like 94, like the go-to club in Montreal, in the urban scene at least, that was playing hip hop, reggae, calypso downtown was Club Motions on Mackay Street. And I started there in 1994, and that's when everything really took off at a different speed. That's when slowly but surely I became a household name.
All right, so we need to expand on that a little bit more. What's it like in that vibe? Why is this so significant? You know, a little bit more about what it is to be that DJ.
Well, like this is the Apollo for DJs, right? Like once again, you're gonna hear the name DJ Tough come back a lot because he was like a foundation of the urban scene in Montreal, right? So he was the resident DJ there. Donald D, who went on and is still one of the record label people at Warner. The two of them were the DJs there at the time, right? So like this was like, you had to have your A game. You couldn't be trying to DJ at this point. Like they were very, very selective to who they even let in the club to party, much less who they let play.
We got to pause for a second. What's the difference between an amateur DJ and an A-game DJ? Because if you were to ask me, I don't know that I could even answer that question a little bit. It's just, to me, they're all doing things I can't do.
In other words, you do what you do well. Like you could be an amateur DJ and be real dope because, you know what I mean, every master was once a student. But like at this point in time, like you got to come in and you got to deliver. There's no, you come in and your mixes are offbeat or you lose the dance floor. That's it. Like you're gone. Like they're not just putting anybody there because it was the go-to spot. People were lining up to get into this club. DJs, every DJ wanted to play there during this time. So they had the pick. They weren't taking anything less than what they considered like, you know, A level. So.
Are you like lugging crates around full of records? Can we talk a little bit about the literal logistics of being a DJ? I do know what this is, but I'm asking this in a more like stupid kind of way for the sake of, again, anybody in the future that we can all learn from your expertise. Walk us through like what it's like to be a DJ logistically at this time.
So we're talking about the mid 90s now, right? So it's clearly pre-Serato, pre-laptop DJing, even like pre-CD DJing, more or less. So on average now, if I'm going to go and DJ a club, I got to pack. I started off with milk crates. Like literally, we would go in the back of the Couche-Tards in the depths, grab up a couple of milk crates when they were in the lane, throw them in the van and drive off. Because where else are you going to get milk crates from, right? You can't go and buy them in the store. So you'd have to wait until the depths of the grocery stores put them out. And that's how we got our milk crates. So boom, I would pack up the milk crates. You bring 3 or 4 milk crates to a party. The funny thing, and every DJ that carried crates will tell you this, everybody was your friend at the beginning of the party. I used to walk in with my 2 empty hands. Your friends are more than willing to carry the crate because they're walking past the line. It's like a parting of the Red Sea when the DJ shows up. Everybody sees the DJ and who's with the DJ, and you just walk in. And at 3 o'clock now, those friends are just giving you a bounce saying, man, it was a great night, and you're left with those 3, 4 crates yourself. I'm not saying that happened all the time, but it did happen, right? But I can't be mad. At the end of the night, people are tired. They don't want to be bothered. But so yeah, you had a crew, like literally, and some guys, they had a crew. Like they had a crew of guys that would just carry the records. You had guys that would carry you because you have like 3 or 4 crates, and they had dudes that's what they did. They would just carry your crates for you. So logistically, I'm thinking, if you know what a milk cart looks like, maybe about 5 of those. You're packing up about 5 of those, and maybe a bag to go and play a gig.
Damn. So you got
that was probably
no, I got
that
a
was
next
the
question.
worst part.
Cause
Yeah.
I got like Spotify, so I can easily find what I'm looking for. How did
Yeah.
you know where shit was? Like, I know for you it might be innate. I'm just like, did you have like a filing system where like you put certain types of things together so it was simple to like grab shit? Like, was there like a way to optimize that process?
Well, I'll tell you what. At home, I had everything broken down by genre and by alphabet. So like the reggae was in one place, the hip hop was in one place, and everything was alphabetical. But to DJ, I made my crates, like I said, I would make the reggae crate, the soca crate, the hip hop crate. But after a while, the record labels, there was a visual, right? Like I'm not scrolling, looking at files where you have to know what it is to find it. I would look at it and be like, oh, that white and black cover, that's Bad Boy. That's anything Bad Boy. Oh, this yellow cover, that's Snoop. Or this, like, I got visual with it. I could just look at the top of the crate and I knew where things were based on the record jacket.
That's amazing. So while you're doing your set live, right? Like, cause again, like I'm not a DJ. I fuck around and curate music is the closest thing I can call myself. Okay, like, and I'm terrible. I hit random, but like, what's it like to like actually read a room and like do that part of it? Cause a lot of us, we don't appreciate the DJ maybe because we don't even really know. I mean, I know, but like they don't necessarily really know what the fuck you're doing while you're looking at the people. Like, walk us through a little bit of that, like reading a crowd and just knowing what it is to pick the right records and shit.
A good DJ, and you have to be aware of your crowd. A lot of the times as DJs, and if a DJ is looking down, that's a problem right there. A DJ has to be scanning the room, and you read the room. You feel people's energy. It's very important. An art that I find is lost is that people come out so late. We miss that whole setting the vibe from like maybe like 10, 11 o'clock. Everybody shows up at like 12:31 and they want the party to be lit right until 3 o'clock. And then they're mad when the lights come on. But for me personally, like it just comes natural. Like you put on some stuff and you'll see people at the bar when they're getting comfortable, like they'll be tapping their foot or they'll just be nodding their head. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna give them a little more of that. You might put something on and you see like the whole room is cold, like there's no reaction. So you're like, okay, I'll pull back from that. And then it's a game. You just play with it like that. Like you can watch people's body language and you can get a good idea of what they're gonna like. And then, bless you ladies, because there ain't no party without the ladies. You gotta watch the ladies. Because if the ladies are dancing, that's your job is more than 75% done. And you'll always have that group of girls that you'll see them vibing. And those are the girls that are gonna come on that dance floor when nobody's dancing. And they're gonna make everybody come on the dance floor. You know what I mean? So you watch the crowd and you can get an idea of what vibe to take it in.
And I guess in a sense then, if you're a regular at a lot of these places, you're gonna get to know the crowd in a more intimate way because you're gonna literally get to know these people and know, okay, those are the ones I gotta fuck with on this given night because every time those are the game winners. And you can start to be like hella strategic with it, right?
But you see, another thing too, Holden, that's changed was that in my early days of DJing, it was more our job to introduce you were a hot DJ if you could introduce new shit. It was hot if nobody ever heard it. It's kind of reversed now.
Whoa, like okay, let's talk about that.
If you were the guy that came and played the brand new Beanie Man or the Shabba that nobody ever heard, that was the shit. Like, that's what DJing was in that era. Like, you had to be the guy playing the shit that nobody else had, or be the first one to drop it. Like, the people in the crowd didn't have to know it. It was almost like being a part of something. The fact that you didn't know it, it was like, oh shit, I'm here and I'm hearing it here from this guy. Like, wow.
Yo, that's huge. That's huge. I didn't even think about that. Yo, shout out Adrian Frost, according to Wisebot. You're new on the stream. Shout you out. And all the other people. I see Lindell's there because, he's taking a second here. I saw Rico Blocks popped on. Yo, we still going strong, Rico? My guy. We going strong because you are that interesting. I just want you to know that. This is not like me trying to go too far with it, but I watched a lot of the successful podcasty versions of me, and they all do that a lot because it's important to remind you that everything that you talk about is something people want to hear.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And like I said, I appreciate being here. Shout out Rico Blocks. You just mentioned someone else. Oh, yes, Adrian Frost. That was a dude that I DJ'd with coming up. That's a friend of mine from high school, man. We were DJing high school era at that time, too. So he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now we're all learning a lot more, because even what you just told us about being a DJ, that's fire. So, like, yo, you learn your records by color. So it actually adds this whole element to covers. Now, you know, thinking about that, there's going to be people who reverse engineered that fucking thinking and said, yo, I need to make sure that my cover is something the DJ could. And apparently Bad Boy and Snoop were really on point with that. You know how I know? You said like, that
people
shit.
Take it for granted. Every Bad Boy record, when we got the 12-inch, I'm not talking about albums.
All right.
I wish I had one here I could have showed you. But every Bad Boy record had the Bad Boy logo all around it, like how they do Louis Vuitton. Like, it was all over it. So the minute I looked at my crate, I could see the Bad Boy records. I didn't even have to take the record out. I could just look at the top of the crate, and I always could identify where the Bad Boy was. And that was amazing branding on their part.
So
the record stood out.
And I know for Bad Boy in particular, they actually do think about that level of everything, because I talked to one of the original engineers at Daddy's House back in the 90s, and he was breaking down how it was like working for their marketing team and the way they structured everything. So I promise that was deliberate. They knew what the fuck they were doing with that. And that's why it's super interesting to look at these little details, because, yo, I mean, I don't know how that translates into the modern era. I don't think anyone knows what album covers are going to become now, because it's weird now. I mean, sure, vinyl
that's it.
Is weird.
Like, do people still even really, like, mess with albums? Like,
yes.
It's such a single-driven time.
It's not true.
Yeah?
I do reviews. I don't do them as much. But, yo, you just have to look at the top 5 Grammys this year for nominations. It's Royce the 5'9" with this beautiful album that we all listen to beginning to end, because he tells stories and talks about real shit the whole way through. You got RTJ4 by Run the Jewels. My God, this is my album of the year. Any track on that album I can listen to. And I can listen to that thing cover to fucking cover. Now, I could.
But you're not the average listener also.
Yeah, but here's what changed. You don't have to worry about the average listener anymore. You just need enough people willing to subscribe to you. So the fuck do people need to care about the average listener? I promise you there's literally 9 figures on earth willing to listen to albums. Okay? Yeah. So if we all reframed our thinking and worrying about who's doing what, singles, this, that, look, marketing release strategies is a very separate conversation than final products. If you were to ask me, release your album in chunks like fucking Scarlord did. He did it in chunks of 4. And he named them after seasons and shit, stealing straight from Lupe. And then he went through that, and at the end, he dropped the album. And here's the thing, he gave it to you in little chunks. So then you have repetition and familiarity in your favor when the whole album comes out. Because you need the whole album to come out. That's how it shows up at the top of your Spotify. Because your Spotify looks like fucking bullshit when it's full of singles, and it's this era now.
Right.
So you can still make an album. You just have to release it smart. You don't have to release it the same. Everyone's acting like albums are done. Fuck that. I'm going to write concept albums for the rest of my life. I'm in the middle of it.
Keep it alive.
No, but it's not me. Look at Griselda. How the hell is Griselda alive? Like, dude, the proof is in the pudding. Anybody really looking at the world of music today is going to go, yo, how the fuck does Griselda have 5 dudes who can release a full album after full album? Let's go a different direction. Let's go back to the Bay. The Bay never gave a fuck about anything other than selling to their own. And so they put out the same fucking album over and over again. Motherfuckers consume it like it's drugs. And they're obsessed. If I drop an album review from somebody in the Bay, motherfuckers is going to show up and comment. Doesn't matter. So people look at it like that because people, I don't know, maybe aren't adapting to a different fucking era. But the question is, are you trying to be a millionaire off this shit? Or are you trying to like have enough fans to sustainably create your art? Maybe we need to change the goalposts in our life and make the art we think is dope, and then we can all have doper fucking careers with it.
In a perfect world, yeah, that would be good. If people would ignore all of those things and not just look for it to have that hot single and get hot from that alone,
but that still works.
Put together a solid piece of work. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're still gonna be mainstream. But, yo, the underground pays now. It's not like the underground and full albums don't work. I think Nipsey proved that shit recent. I think.
Well, even before that, you could go back to, like, Tech 9, Immortal Technique.
Let's go a different direction on this conversation. Drake made a double album take over Billboard. How did he do that in 2018 if nobody could make an album? And it's fire. I don't care what anyone says. I was listening to Scorpion today. It's a good fucking album. There's so many songs on that I still know the words to. That means it's a good album. That was 2018. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
challenging that there. So the idea that it can't be done is silly. I think people are just trash at marketing.
I don't know. I'm not saying that it can't be done from my end. It's just that I find that everything is very single driven, or maybe that's how I look at it as a DJ, because we don't, before I always bought the albums, right? And like from a DJ, like I collect music differently than you and the people in the chat that aren't DJs. Like we work with record pools where the album is not really the focus. Like they'll always predominantly put out, they'll give you the singles, the remixes, and the stuff that you're going to use as a DJ, because we're treating music differently than the fan or the listener to it, right? So they've cut down, and this is from the labels. This is what the labels are providing to us, right? Over the years, I've noticed that they give less and less albums. They pick out what they want to push or what they want to promote heavily, and they'll give that. In my personal time, will I go buy and listen to an album and listen to it? Yeah. But in my world as a DJ, we're very single driven.
So I look at it like, I love that you said that, because I think a lot of us, when we had these conversations, do that a little bit. We have our occupations in our worlds. Now, in my world, album reviews for 4 years.
Exactly.
I've done over 500. Okay, 400 to 500. I don't want to say shit that's not true. I can confidently say at least 400 albums. But what I can say is I followed the media surrounding this for 4 years. I know that albums are not dead, but like people also don't know how to make money on music. Albums are an advertising platform for your merch and tours, and people
and tours. Yeah, we know that the touring is the money. Yeah, and
but
the merch.
Do they know that? Who knows that? I see a lot of people doing a lot of weird things, in my opinion. They're not really establishing the album sale techniques. Because I've been talking to a lot of people, making a little bit of connections on it. I'm not trying to say like I know all the series of things, but I know a couple of things. You're here talking to me, you know. So like, what I'm trying to convey is, I think people worry about that too much because they're so like, I have never fucking done the DJ thing. I kind of feel stupid in hindsight. And one time I went to DJ Blaster on CKOT, and so what happened was I sent in a track and he said come through, but I'm an ignorant dude who's never even listened to the show one time. I didn't know what I was doing. He probably is just like whatever, because Blaster apparently always just plays whatever and says yes, which is fucking dope. I went through, Next Man's did this whole promo run, and I said, I don't have a thing to say. And I fucking choked. And then I said my Twitter handle, and it sounded stupid because it was long and stupid. And I changed it the next fucking day to HSR 514. And it was an awful experience in my life.
That's a learning experience.
So, like, I mean, yeah, it totally is. But, like, for me, it's never been my game. Albums have always been my interest because albums are eternal. Albums are what they talk about 20 years later, and nobody remembers the single. And that's what I've always cared about. So it kind of depends on your goals. You can put on any of my projects, and I think that the music, like, okay, I'm not saying you love it or hate it, whatever. This is all preferences. But I think that none of it is dated or fucking weird. That all kind of makes sense, and you can still bump them today, and they still kind of play out because I focused on making albums with concepts and, like story arcs and shit. And I noticed that in this world of singles, every artist is still doing this with their albums. Okay, because I reviewed all their albums, and we find stories in 80% of them. New, old, all of them. Stories are just all of them. Everybody's album is a story. So how is it all these artists that are apparently just relying on singles and like, how is it like not a thing if all the artists are still doing it? Obviously, they're still. Like,
because I guess from the artist standpoint is like make 2-3 hot singles, get radio play, video play, get played on the internet, and that will sell the album. So that's their. And that's what I guess that's what gets a lot of the attention and a lot of the focus.
But it hits
everybody. They get those hot
everybody.
singles to sell it, yeah.
But then you have your super fans that'll fuck with your album.
Exactly. For sure.
And so you need to make the album. Or your super fans will never become your super fans. They're always going to wait for that album. I promise you, man. People don't wait forever for that first album to come.
Well, that's it. Like, but you know what? At the end of the day, sometimes with these artists, they can also navigate and dictate the way their fans react. If they're that artist, I mean, every artist is going to put out an album. It's like mandatory. But if they can dictate their career to their fans, and if they get their fans used to a certain thing, and they'll gravitate and they're going to take what they get from them. I mean, this does not apply to every situation. Nothing in life does. You know what I mean? But
And I definitely agree with you, which is why I'm glad we're having this conversation. Because, yo, to me, this is where it gets real juicy. I mean, your life story is dope and stuff, but we're actually talking about some real shit that affects the lives of people watching this, like how to actually approach your music strategy. That album versus not thing is a huge conversation. Everybody's worried about it. Everybody's worried about how to release their shit. Everybody's worried about singles versus not, because everybody's worried about, I guess, views or growth, or I don't know what the right word is. I don't know. And I'm not saying that insincerely. I think everybody has a different thing they're worried about. So, like, I agree that there's a whole grind with DJs, and it's so valuable. Yo, honestly, shout out Prechankobia. He and others have got me to Google radio stats, and I shut the fuck up, and radio's clearly not dead. Radio's clearly alive and popping. And fun fact, talk radio is #1. That's dope.
That's what I listen to.
I'm like, wait a second. I want to get paid to talk? Fuck yeah. But no, for real, like talk radio is killing it. And then country music was #2. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. The people who hate tech change are still bumping music radio like that. Anyway, so I vibe with shit like that. And then all the other ones.
And Montreal still doesn't have a country station dedicated. Weird.
It's actually whack, because I know a shit ton of people who fucks with country. It was actually one of those things where I had to reconsider country music as a whole, and now I appreciate it while not necessarily going towards it.
Yeah. There was 2 genres. We always used to have the conversation. Urban and country were totally left out of the Montreal radio landscape from the mainstream stations, and they were 2 of the biggest genres on the planet, 2 of the biggest selling genres, and they never got full representation. But whatever. Maybe that's for part 2 or part 3.
Yo, shout out fucking Don Smooth here. You straight up gave the respect to other things that were not your own. Like, because not everyone would have brought up that country needs love too.
Oh yeah.
That's really amazing. So I don't know. That was a great tangent. Basically though, I'm curious now. If we go back to like the 90s, so you start really doing this.
Yeah, we're in the 90s. We're talking about how I chose my music and stuff.
And this is around what, 94, 95?
Well now, yeah, I would say 94, 95. Yeah, this is when like I said, I was making, my name was getting out there. I was starting to play. I got way beyond the bedroom and the basement parties. Like now I'm at the elite parties, and in comes 1995, and one of Montreal's premier New Year's events, Diamonds and Pearls, comes around. So now, like, I'm talking like they had TV commercials on CTV for this event. Like now this is the biggest platform that I have ever been exposed to or been a part of.
Sorry, what's Diamonds and Pearls?
Diamonds and Pearls was a New Year's event that started, rest in peace, Keith and Karen, 2 amazing Montreal promoters who were putting in work like probably since the late 70s. But they ran, like I told you, getting to Motions was this level. So now working for Keith and Karen was like the next level. So we're talking from, I'm used to playing at Motions, maybe 200-300, maybe 300 people on a Saturday night. Now we're talking New Year's Eve, $75 to $100 to get in, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. Like it's a huge leap. And like I said, there was TV commercials. Like you'd be sitting down watching Arsenio and the commercial would come on. Nobody had ever seen a Montreal party with a commercial on TV. Like they were on that level. Like it was mind blowing. That had never been done before. Like they were advertising a New Year's party on TV during Arsenio Hall and during different shows. So I got the call and they said, they told me straight up, this is make it or break it for you. They told me straight up, we're giving you a chance. We've heard good things. This is make it or break it. And I was on that bill with DJ Quite Sane and the Groove Train out of Ottawa. And it was bananas. It was bananas.
Okay, you gotta give
and
us,
I've been around ever since.
Okay, you gotta give us a little more than is bananas. You have like a 5,000.
Well, like I said, so here I am now. Like, I'm coming from, like I said, like Motions had been the highest I had reached at this point. So, and that was great. Like I was more than happy with that. So now I'm getting the call now to come and DJ. This is New Year's now. This is the party of the year. There's no fucking up. There's no, you gotta come like extra strong. Quite Sane, great DJ. Groove Train, great DJs. And then, when the promoter adds, like, this is make it or break it. Like, the pressure that I was feeling was insane. I was like, how the hell, take a couple shots and I get on there. The nerves were in me like crazy. But as a DJ, what you do every day, it just kicks in and you just get natural. And I'm not going to say I rocked the party. I wasn't going to say I was the standout guy that night. but it did wonders for my name regardless. Like it made people look at me and say, okay, all right, no, if they're messing with you on that level, then okay, you know, it opened another door for me. You know, I mean, I got another pass, another level of a pass.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what
And it
happens?
was crazy. Like I had never been in front of a crowd where I couldn't see where the room ended. It was the first time in my life, like I looked at the crowd and I couldn't see where it ended. There was thousands of people. And they went on to be one of the most epic New Year's parties in Montreal ever. Diamonds and Pearls. I don't even know. They went up to maybe 4, 5, 6 editions, and they just got bigger and bigger every year. They were doing them at Palais de Congrès, and it was a massive, massive event.
And you kept coming back?
Nope, I did the first year. So like I said, I wasn't a standout, but they would always cycle the DJs. They often change the DJs. I didn't make it back. I only played the first year, to tell you the truth. But it did enough to help me go forward with it.
All right, so what happens after that?
Okay, so at this point now, so we're in the mid '90s. So now hip hop it's downtown. Montreal was heavily a dance city, still is.
When you say
but
downtown,
now,
you mean like Crescent? You mean
Crescent, like... Saint Laurent? It's coming downtown. Before this, there was no hip hop was being played that I knew of. I'm not saying that it didn't exist, but I had never experienced hip hop downtown. So it started to come downtown, and you know, you have guys like Ricky D's and the Romeros. These promoters now, they started taking their parties to all of the hot clubs in all the right places. And at the same time, like Biggie, Bad Boy, this music is what's bubbling. It's crossed over now. Everybody in these clubs, this is the music they want now. But a lot of the DJs at that time were not up to speed with it. So they brought the urban DJs along with them downtown. And we were the ones that, you know, we were the ones playing the music in the early days when the rise of that.
So basically, as you said, in order to have success in a lot of cases, you need to have preparation, or luck was preparation mixed with timing. We can say that's how I remember it.
Exactly.
So you were prepared because you'd already rocked a major ass fucking crowd. And you done all the work. You did everything, the cruise, the whole thing. Created the network, remembered all the phone numbers and shit. Did everything. And then all of a sudden, there became a huge need for exactly what the fuck you do.
Hell yeah. And it was then, like, shit changed. Then, you know, the venues changed. We were in a lot fancier venues. We were meeting more diverse crowds, and the money definitely changed too. The money started getting better and better. So it was definitely a good time. Like the mid '90s to 2000 was like an explosion, an urban explosion. Like all of a sudden now, you could not have a party on Crescent and Saint Laurent and say you're not playing hip hop. You could not have a club and you're not having a reggae set in there, almost even more than the dance.
All right, let me ask you a question like related to this stream of you being a DJ.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Montreal hip hop scene? How exposed and connected are you to the rise and the birth of all the people involved in that during this time?
There is none. There's Shades of Culture. Shout out to them. The grind was so hard. Shades of Culture were those guys during the 90s, representing for Montreal at least. I think it was the Rain Men was another group that was around. It was difficult, man. Arcade was around those times also. But like this is the times where now like you can't just make beats at home on your laptop. Like you gotta have money to go and do studio time. You can't just put your music on the internet and send it around the world. You gotta go and get your vinyl pressed. You gotta get physical music. It's not just digital. So everything costs money. So it was very difficult. There was a lot of people were rapping and all that, but it wasn't, not a whole lot was going on. I know Shades of Culture was real. They were pushing hard. The Butter Babies, that was another one. They were putting in work, but it wasn't easy. You didn't have, like, now everything is so accessible. And now money's not going to hold you back now. But back then, you could be dope. You could have the talent, but you had to have that studio money. You had to have the music to get those records. You had to have the money to ship those records to be heard all around. So it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. So therefore, not as many people had access to it. So there wasn't the volume of rappers that then I saw in the 2000s.
You know what's really interesting, though, as you say this, is because sometimes I talk to people who are a little bit my elder, and I talk about some nonsense, and I'll complain about some fucking gadget or whatever. And they're like, silly child, you don't fucking know. And as guys like you talk to me and explain this stuff, it really does add that layer of, oh, that's why they get fucking annoyed when I complain about the easy thing. That makes sense. All right. So it's actually like really helpful. And I think at least a lot of us millennials have to work on our humility a lot. And so hearing you talk about this is a good exercise in humility for a lot of us, to hear what you actually do and did, and actually to hear about the struggle of Montreal artists in that era and the gating behind it. Like literally, I could afford to produce an album on under $3,000, right?
Wow.
And I can afford that shit, easy.
Yeah.
I'm not mildly easy. My girlfriend's gonna be like, "Shut the fuck up," but it's not like that easy. I don't want to talk too much right there, but like, it's doable, and it's like anyone can do that. I'm talking about you own your beats, this, that, the next thing. So hearing you like, yo, and these guys, Shades of Culture, that album, they dropped in like '98. I can't remember its name right now, but it's
was it State of Mind?
Mind State. That shit is like, you put it on today, and front to back, it is a beautiful experience.
Shout them guys, man. Shades,
absolutely.
Like, they like they weren't just hot from Montreal. Like they made a buzz, man. Like they made noise, man. Shades of Culture.
According to Preach and a few others, but Preach told me first. Yo, apparently the Shades EP debuted in 1991 and MCG 1990. That's fucking fire. But apparently, according to Preach and a few others, Shades opened up for the Backstreet Boys.
I didn't even know that. That's dope. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, yo, Montreal has done some shit. Yo, shush. We got to stop saying that guy. Montreal's done some shit. Yo, Montreal's done a lot of shit. That's kind of what my life's been like.
We have. And there was a French group. Why? Somebody in the chat, Preach, maybe you know. Oh, man, there was a French group that really, I think DJ Choice was their DJ. It's going to come back to me after, hopefully before the interview's done. But there was a French group that did really strong and really well here as well, from in that era.
Yeah. So, yo, shout out my homeboy Ismail. He's been ride or die on the whole channel the whole way through. So shout him out.
Shout out Ismail.
He came through. He's fucking
dope.
What up? He's when I do this in a lot of ways, Ismail lives in Montreal. I met him through YouTube. And he was like, I don't know Montreal rappers that well. And Ismail is discovering like Montreal hip hop as we go through this journey in a really significant and almost cool way. So in a lot of ways, you know, he's gonna watch this in full. I know that for a fact. There's a couple of them that will. And you're doing a huge blessing. There's even people that don't live here that are gonna watch this in full. Not many, but a couple. So it's just
that's
cool.
A beautiful thing. No, it's a beautiful thing what we're doing tonight. I like to share stories, and we got good memories we're talking about here. It's bringing me back because I'm starting to get a visual. Just having you, like a lot of things that I forgot about now are starting to pop back up in my head. You know what I mean?
That's the effect of what we do here. It's a little deliberate, my approach. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like random. I'm kind of on purpose with the tangents and then drag you back, and tangents drag me. It kind of works because what I realized is it's like Drink Champs without the alcohol.
I like that.
Well, I mean, so I had a drunk guy one time on, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And Preach was like, gave me a big lecture after, and I'm like, you know what? I don't do alcohol well. I don't know how to read it, etc. Let's figure it out without booze. Let's figure it out without drugs. I can't expect people to get too high either, because that's also not good. You know, like, so you know what's dope? People just being fucking them.
That's it.
And that's what's great. But how do you still get them to that place where they want to tell all their stories? The truth is you're actually really interesting. I've learned a whole lot tonight. None of that's like a lie. And you just keep repeating that. I found that out. And if you do that a lot, if you're ever in my position in your near future, say that a lot. People go, okay. And then they start talking more. And it's just facts. And it's just
I like I said, I've been doing this, right? Like I did radio for like 14, 15 years. I've done more interviews than I could count. You know what I mean? So I recognize I only had to see you once with Preach to recognize that, like, I didn't have to watch a bunch of your lives I was like, you know what? This guy has a nice approach. He has a good angle. You bring out a story, you make it more interesting, and you bring out those things that people might not wouldn't think about. But I was caught up. Like when I was watching it, the whole flow, it was laid back, it was chill and very informative. And I was like, I would definitely sit down and do an interview with for that reason. Yeah. I could sense, like I said, I've been doing this. You know what I mean? So I could sense right away if it's somebody that just writes down a bunch of questions or if it's somebody just pulling out of their ass. I could tell you genuinely, I can see the work that you put in. Even if it comes off to the crowd that it's all laid back and natural, I know that a lot goes on to get it to come that way, which is a blessing on your part, man.
I don't know. That's probably the coolest thing that coming from you. That's huge. I don't know. Like I'm blushing a little bit.
No, but it's
so
true, man. It's true.
It. That's amazing. Okay, now I'm like, oh my gosh, flip that on me real quick. So DJ Damage 4000 says, I remember when D-Shay did that Mike's Restaurant commercial.
Oh, wow. See, pulling up jewels that I don't even remember. But like I said, they had a huge impact. Like I said, they weren't just Montreal dudes rapping. Like, they were getting recognition from outside and from other places. They and I believe they went touring and stuff. Like, they were active. They didn't just put out a record. Like, they were really active.
That's amazing. All right, so we're in that, like, late 90s period. Shit's blitzing. You're DJing. I don't know what's cool that happened in that era, but you got to have a couple little things. I mean, if you're doing all the hot shits downtown Montreal, are you, like, still opening for people that are coming through, like, celebrities and stuffs?
There wasn't a ton. There was always shows, but now the shows started moving into the Bell Center.
Apparently the group name you're looking for is Dubmatic. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Double Sound Creations, for the tip.
Yes, Dubmatic. That's it. Thank you, Double SH. That's my dude. He was there with me throughout all those club eras, so he knows what's up. But yeah, Dubmatic. I think they went like platinum by Canadian standards, selling 100,000, if I'm not mistaken. Like they were very successful commercially. But yes, Dubmatic. Thank you. That would have bothered me. But yeah, so this time I'm really heavy on the club circuit, like I said, because the urban music took off everywhere, and at this time there was a handful of us that were able to play it properly, authentically, the R&B, the hip hop, and the reggae. So we were getting.
I have to. Apparently, according to Preach, you were talking about MRF and DJ Choice.
Well, Dubmatic is the French group that I said did all the selling, that sold good units, like that I said. Believe I went Canadian platinum. MRF et Arrivé, definitely they were a big one. I think they were from South Shore, and they had a crazy DJ that used to DJ with basketballs and all kind of stuff. MRF et Arrivé, I remember them clearly. Yeah, that was a Quebecois group. I believe they're from the shore, Longueuil or something like that.
My word,
it's all coming back. Yeah, two different groups, though. But Dubmatic was the one that had the big numbers.
Whew, that's dope. Don Smooth did that right quick. Your memory is impeccable. That has to be huge in this. Like, that is incredible. I appreciate that. I appreciate that for real, because you're on your side of the fence and you're still fucking doing your thing like a pro.
It's who I am.
Yeah, thank you so much, T-Locks. When they highlight my name, it kind of pops out. That's cool. That's helpful. Great interview so far.
Thank you. You see T-Locks, Steph Miller. These are all, our Montreal people that were partying back in the days. Like, they were there witnessing. Those were the girls that we wanted to get on the dance floor.
That's awesome. I'm glad that y'all are here. And I mean that sincerely, because to me, it's like they appreciate a lot of what you're saying in ways that I don't. But I'm representing all the other people so that you kind of get on both ends of the reaction sphere. And that's a lot of where I guess my...
Bridging the gap, right?
It's exactly why we called it that. Because, for me, like, I'm part of the scene. Nah, I used to be a fool in the scene, and now I want to rectify that by doing something for the scene, This is what I can do. I can talk to people, and this is it. So I'm rolling with this in this moment. All right, so you're popping off in the clubs. I still want to hear if there's anything fucking cool that was going on. I think you were saying rappers and shit weren't actually coming through, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they were coming through, but, like, rap changed now. So
okay.
Rap is now it's like it's the Mega Million, it's the superstars. When they were coming, things were a little different. They weren't as accessible as they were in the earlier days because now they're big superstars, right? But I mean, there were still opening gigs. I don't remember doing a whole lot in the late 90s. I was really heavy in the club. I was playing 4 or 5 nights a week many times. So like I was focused with that. So I was putting my energies there because I was in demand. I was playing out a lot. I was making great money. I was having a lot of fun. And then I'll tell you, I remember so clearly, I think it was like maybe 2000. So we've transferred into the 2000 now. So I'm basically all these years, I'm heavily in the club. I'm doing clubs regular. The long weekends, the New Year's, the summer times. It's like I'm in demand. I'll play at one club and then go play it on an after type thing. So now by early 2000s, everything comes to a crashing halt. I'm playing on Crescent Street. gunshots go off, somebody gets hit, police get involved, come in, whatever. Boom, right away, club owners cancel the night. Like, the club didn't get canceled, but they canceled the night that we were doing.
Right.
So it's like, damn, it's not a good look. And mind you, it was the club owners that let the people in that caused the altercation. But anyhow, so maybe a couple months down the line, I'm playing again. I'm still doing my thing. I played another club. There's another altercation. Unfortunately, some random people got hit by projectile in the room. All from that moment, Don Smooth was blacklisted. Don Smooth was the cause of the shooting. It's the song he played the causes. I got blacklisted.
Hold up, that's like real. Nah, that's like
blacklisted.
Wow.
It wasn't spoken out like that, but there was a handful of people that owned most of the popular and the biggest clubs during that time, and it was a done deal for me. I was getting 0 bookings from playing 3-4 nights a week. Everything just stopped. Nobody was touching me.
That's unfortunate. I understand the layers and layers of what goes on behind the scenes. There's probably a lot of people who don't understand a damn thing about a damn thing putting it on you. I'm going to assume a bunch of folk that look more like me making a bunch of decisions without a gut of good decisions of what's going on.
Well, you see what it is it was like, oh, there was a shooting here. There was altercation here. This guy was there. I guess I was just in the wrong place too many times. Oh, we had another altercation here. Oh, who's the DJ? Oh, him again? Okay, we don't want him at our club. And that was the first time. And like I said, I was peaking. I was hitting. Like, everything was going really nice for me at that point in time. And everything just crashed.
I know this is going to be a strange twist on that, but this is literally the case point that there is such a thing as bad press. Yeah.
yeah. Not all. They say that no such thing as bad publicity. It was not good publicity at all. But there's a happy ending to the story. But yeah,
love it. I mean,
there's a happy ending to the story. So we're looking around 2002, 2003. So I'm like literally everything came to a halt for me. I'm not getting any bookings really. I'm being scorned on the hot clubs downtown. So it's like, what now? So I keep grinding away. Meanwhile, I'm a student at Concordia. So I'm like, I want to get into this communications program. And they told me, go out there, build a portfolio, go out there as an intern, get some work in a radio station. I started knocking at doors. People were like, oh, no, we don't want no intern. We're not looking for that. We're not interested in that. Blah, 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 blah. DJing at a club one night, and legendary Butcher T, that's somebody else, put him on your list. Butcher T was the first DJ to play urban music in Canada, not Montreal, in Canada. He's did that in the early 80s here in Montreal. I'm playing at one of the few gigs that I still managed to get. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm going to introduce you to Duke Eatman at K103.
I know who that is. I'm at a point where I know who that is. But still, not everyone does.
Yeah.
Okay, the way I understand him is he's the guy that Don Smooth replaced and became. Like, you're the new Duke Eatman. I don't know how to say it right. That's how it's been described to me. It's like it was him, and then it was you.
Okay.
I don't know how true that is.
Let me give everyone a background story. First, K103, right? Located on Ganawage, on the reserves. Heo Kirby was the nighttime guy at the time. And the story that I've heard is at one point he came on and he ran a Wu-Tang album. And apparently, the numbers, the listeners went crazy. So he was like they kind of stumbled on the urban path. So they started doing more of it. And then Heo Kirby was the guy that created Street Sounds. So all of a sudden now, we're hearing urban music for the first time in Montreal. CKUT always had urban music in pockets. But for the first time, we're hearing urban music daily in Montreal. This was bigger than you can imagine during that era, during this time. K103 is playing urban music 4 nights a week for 6 hours.
Let's pretend that people can't imagine that. What's the landscape of music like at this time? Like, break it down what the radios is like and shit. I'm alive, so I'm aware, but for the people that don't know. Landscape
of radio at this time, you gotta wait till Friday night, turn on CKUT to hear the weekend groove, and that's where you're gonna hear some hip hop. And that's for a 2-hour block. Then Saturday, you gotta program yourself. Okay, I want to hear some soca and reggae. I'm gonna go listen to Howard Stretch Carr on West Indian Rhythms. And then you had the Sound Supreme show, which was the craziest one of the craziest hip hop shows in Montreal. That was LDG and Flight. And now currently it's Ken Dog and Mike Mission, which is called The Masses at Work. Basically, we had maybe 10 hours of urban music on radio. It was all at CKUT. And you had to be like, okay, I'm going to get my urban fix Friday night at 10 o'clock. I'm going to get this on Saturday at 7 o'clock. That's how it was. You could never just get in your car, turn on the radio station and leave it and be getting urban music. It was in pockets. And amen for CKUT, man, for always doing it.
Big respect. And I think a lot of people need to know how important this is. And just to shut it out, as Preach puts it in the chat, Heo Kirby is then followed by Duke Eatman, is then followed by Don Smith. So, that's how people are putting it out to me. That's why I said it like that earlier. But I do want to continue going on with this because I learned a lot about kind of a parallel, because I'm kind of talking to a bunch of New York City guys and doing the same kind of thing. And a lot of people are telling me about Stretch and Bobbito.
Right.
Their experiences going with mixtapes with Stretch and Bobbito, and literally it's kind of a parallel. Like your role in the city is kind of the role that Stretch and Bobbito and them played in their city.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Duke Eatman and them. I don't fully know out all of them, and I'm still learning on the fly. But when you hear a rapper from Montreal and a rapper from New York tell it, it's the same fucking story. And your role in that is huge. I just hope you know that.
Well, at the time, I knew that when I got that platform, and I've jumped a lot of things, but we'll go back to it.
Yeah, it's okay. We're all over. It's fine.
I knew, I was like, man, like at this, now when I said there was a happy ending, is because I started K103 maybe a year after I told you that story about being banned from all the clubs. Here I go now thinking like, oh shit, like what do I do now? And then the biggest door opens for me. So I put that out there to remind people about, even as bad as shit could get, you never know what's around the corner. So even though my club thing went kind of south, the next year, the biggest opportunity of my career as Don Smooth came my way. And that was like amazing. Like I would not change anything in that story. That's okay, they blacklisted me. Because what ended up happening after that, I put my energy in another direction and it was amazing. And I took my role very seriously. And I always had a lot of respect for my city of Montreal.
I gotta stop for a quick second.
Yeah.
DJ Crystal Clear from fucking Alabama, alright, just donated 1,000 bits. I never got 1,000 fucking bits before, my guy.
I never got 1,000 bits. Thank you.
What just happened? Yo, shout out.
Actually, I did Vibe Tribe. But sorry, yeah.
It's all right. Vibe Tribe is insane. I fucking see these.
I got a big Vibe Tribe. Yeah, I got 1,000 bits from Vibe Tribe, but that is crazy.
Oh, I was there. Preach gave you that shit. I saw Preach give you with that. You were on that hype train, and I got an emote for that hype train. Wow.
Yeah,
and
man.
then shout out Preach for following that up.
That's
with
my
fucking,
guy, man.
What the fuck? Holy shit. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that was like whatever. I don't care about professional. That's fucking fires. Yo, Preach just subscribed with Prime. My guy, this is a beautiful fucking night. That's all I'm trying to say.
Preach. That's my brother, man. Preach, man.
Wow. More bits. I don't even know what to fucking say. That's fucking Liddy. That's fucking cool.
Shout out to Preach. Shout out Vibe Tribe. Shout out Alabama.
Yeah, that's true, though. That's the reach that's kind of cool about this. And I love that part about the internet. I don't think a lot of people often think about the power of the not Montreal in the Montreal branding. And that's a big part of what I'm trying to focus on, too. Is then that's why I go and do these New York City interviews. Like, I talked to Miggy Fax and Poison Pen. So I got a couple of, like...
Poison Pen.
You've heard of Poison Pen.
Of course.
I wore this hat the whole time. So that when we put that motherfucker on the internet after...
That's dope. Okay.
That's the kind of vibes I think we need in this. Yo, shut up for the bits, man. You're making me blush again. I don't know how to react to that. I guess I'll have to learn to
appreciate the love, people. I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourselves, man.
Yo, me too. And thank you for doing this with us. Yo, it's big. It's a big claim, man. To be able to say I got Don Smooth to come through for more than 2 hours. Apparently, that's a big deal, right? Like I'm saying, you just fucking bless.
It is because I've never done an interview longer than an hour. I think actually. The last interview I did was with Pro V and Widget from All the Way Live CKUT.
Okay.
That was maybe like a good hour and a half, 2 hours. But I never do these in depth. I've been interviewed several times, and it's usually like a 15, 20 minute. They edit out everything that I really want to get across. But anyway, we won't get into that. You're doing a great job.
So allow me to be clear. Don Smooth fucking grilled me beforehand a little bit. What's your mission? What you fucking about? Da, 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 da. No, he didn't swear. Apparently, there's old people watching. I need to watch my mouth a bit. No offense. I said that fucking terribly. It is what it is. We're live. But no, that's why I want to do it live. Nobody can accuse me of anything after. If
That's
I'm
it.
live.
It's right there. It's all there.
And I actually just want the opposite. Look, here's the thing. I started rapping in 2012. Okay. I came in like Mr. White Boy, arrogant fucker. I'm talking like the worst. I'm talking like Hopsin is the greatest rapper alive to me. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean when I say that, right? Like, all right. So anybody who doesn't know, it is what it is. Shut up for the more bits, everybody. Thank you so much. And then as I rolled through the situation, I started coming into the game and I talked my shit like everybody seems to do. And I'm the best and all that crap. And I just acted like nothing ever existed in Montreal. But I don't know if you ever Googled Montreal hip hop in 2012. It wasn't exactly like a lot of easy finds. So like in my defense a little bit.
I didn't have to Google Montreal hip hop. It was at my front door 4 nights a week.
For me though,
I got
Google it. And there wasn't a lot there. So I didn't really think much of it. I just listened to everybody talking all the shit on Facebook. That was my source of all the informations for years. And I didn't think about that shit. I just took it as for granted. I listened to all the toxicity in the scene, all the people that were in my ears, like, yo, nobody's done anything. Everybody's a motherfucking, all that shit, all that stuff. Sorry, it's hard, man. It's like 9:14. I'm doing my best not to cuss. It's late night now. But like, what I realized is, yo, there's no way to find this easily. And unfortunately, a certain type of people who know all this stuff also like to say things like, nah, I mean, and they don't like to then elaborate. They expect you to know things. It's almost like if you don't know
He's like, figure that shit out.
And then you're like, okay, but where do I figure that out? I'm like, okay. And then you watch like media sources and like, no offense to anybody, this is obviously stuff they should ask, but it's always like, you know, similar questions, similar vibes, similar like, yo, what's your influences? And I'm like, yo, I don't know anything. There's no Wikipedia. How am I supposed to learn this shit? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, where is it? No lie, a little spoiler. I'm looking into how to build an unofficial Montreal wiki for hip hop because it doesn't exist. It's a huge ass project. I'm not quite able to manage it right now, but I need it. And how am I gonna be able to fill shit? You know, I started thinking big. How are we gonna write a book about Montreal's hip hop history? Where apparently Don Smooth needs a book. Fuck up. We need multiple books.
That is on my to do list. That's something I've always said to myself that it's a goal of mine for sure. I told you I got a lot of stories to tell. I don't think we're gonna get to all of them tonight, but I definitely have content
I'm gonna be real with you. I never planned on getting through all your stories tonight.
Yeah.
I tell people it is flat out. The only goal in number one of an interview is to make sure there's number two. Make him want to come back.
Well, and make sure there's content that's worth a number two. One thing in entertainment, you always got to leave the audience wanting some more.
I'd say 90% of my people are worth bringing back that I've talked to so far. And of that, 80% of them come from this city. So there's that much fucking dope shit that's actually happening.
Nice.
But I want to give flowers properly. When I started my interview journey, I didn't know what I was doing. And then I talked to Forever Preach, Mr. Preach and Cobia. This is on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
So for those that actually want to see that shit, it's on YouTube. Bonnie, you can link it. You can link that shit if you're watching, Bonnie. Love you. You're the best. We're making a Bonnie emote because she's the best.
Definitely.
But basically, I didn't know anything. I sounded stupid, honestly. It was my worst interview. I think I had about 2% of the talk time. That was not good. I was just like the whole fucking time. Like, what else? I mean, you saw it, but if you really think about it, that's kind of what happened. So Preach just shared shits, and I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. I could not have handled a Don Smooth interview back then. There's no way. I didn't know anything.
We would have been talking for so long.
But then after that, I developed this vision because Preach kind of, it didn't sound great, my guy. I know the difference. I'm self-aware, my guy. You can say the positives. I know the difference between the Don Smooth interview and the Preach and Kobe interview. I see the difference. It was just where I was at. But part of it became this mission to show the haters, no offense to the haters, my rapping peers of millennial area, almost focused in the Southwest area, because that's where I'm at. That they
When
were.
you say the Southwest, where do you mean the Southwest? Like
I'm in
NBG?
NDG, but
Right,
I'm talking
okay.
LaSalle, Villamar, the whole area, downtown. You know,
Right.
this part of that's where I'm from. Maybe some downtowns. My Facebook has a squad, and there's a bunch of them that are positive people. But it took a long. And here's the thing. I'm gonna be real. COVID made a lot of us self-reflect and get less negative. I've noticed that on
Yeah.
Facebook. The whole world's a little more
Yeah.
positive in this game. But when I was started doing all this, even when I talked to Preach, it was prior to that. It was like I just didn't. I just wanted to show people that there was so much that had happened. I didn't know there was a Shades of Culture, and then I bumped the album. And then here's the thing, and I heard that like the anthem from Preach, and I live 3 blocks from Walkley. So to have a motherfucker call out Walkley on a track like that and the shit be slapping hard in 2021, my guy, we play that shit a bunch. I don't give a fuck if anyone else likes that song. That's 3 blocks from my crib. It's a fucking anthem to this day. It's history, right? And
you weren't aware of it. Wow.
I didn't know a damn thing before I talked to him. And then the guy's like, "You're a fucking album reviewer. Go listen to their fucking lyrics. Do a little 1-2 album review." And I'm like, "Ooh, that's a good trick. Thanks, Breach." And it fucking worked like a charm. Ewer was a little different.
He knows his shit, man. He knows his shit.
So
From
just
a long
giving me
time.
flowers, man, because it is what it is. Like, I give a shit about listening to people that are smart, and I'm not good at life. So, like, for me to be better at life, okay, maybe I'm better at life now, but in my head, I maintain the attitude that I'm not good at life. Therefore, I need the wise people around me to be wise so I can be better at life, and it served me well to live like that. And you are one of the wisest. Why?
Well, like I said, we got to shout out Preach, like you said, give him his flowers, because the whole reason why I'm here right now was you got that cosign from Preach. And like I said, if Preach messed with you, I was like, all right. And then I enjoyed the interview and the interview style. I was entertained by it. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not reaching out to people to be interviewed. If they want to interview me, you know, it's great, fantastic, but it's not something that, you know, I look for. But I like I saw something in what you did, you know what I mean? And I enjoyed the one that you did with Preach. So, and I was like, Preach has always been a good dude. Preach has been around. Like he said, he bought his first record from me. I didn't remember that until he told me, because, you know, he's selling a lot of records. But he was a regular at the radio station, that's for sure.
All right.
I performed with Preach. One of my last performances before COVID was Preach and myself. Well, you know, I was the DJ. Preach was performing with Calmunity at the Black Theater Workshop, their 50th anniversary, I believe. That was a year ago today. It was on the first day of Black History Month. It was on the weekend, the first Saturday of Black History Month. And that was one of my last live shows.
You're Black History from Montreal, and it's February 1st.
Well, and I'm also their DJ, so I guess that's okay.
No, I just meant, like, you're literally living Black History of Montreal, and it's February 1st. What an excellently coincidence. I sincerely didn't even think about till just now. That's actual facts. Listen to, maybe we didn't get there yet in your story. But that's cool because we covered a lot of really important shit. But you are history. I mean, I don't know how significant you realize you are, but you are history.
I realize that more and more now. I never look at it that way. You know what? It's in my mentality. I'm still that DJ that wants to go and show and prove, because as they see, you always gotta perform. You always gotta, like Twitch now. The thing that I like about Twitch, everybody's a bedroom DJ all over again on Twitch. You know what I mean? Of course, you got the Jazzy Jeffs that are gonna be Jazzy Jeffs and whatnot. You know what I mean? But it feels like I'm starting all over again coming on Twitch, because it's an element of DJing that I've never done before. I've never had to DJ in a room with no people. And not get the feedback. Like, you do that on radio, but it's not the same. You know what I mean?
What are you saying? You get like fucking tons of feedback. You know how I know?
I get good. Hey, but
I'm
you're
in your
seeing
stream,
it now.
Watching your Twitch
there was
streams.
months when I started Twitch, like, you know, a lot of the DJs would tell you, there was many times there was one person in the room, 2 people in the room.
Yeah,
it was like that.
It feels comforting.
It was like that longer than now. Like, it just reached in the new year now. It's been growing really nice. You know what I mean? I'm happy with how it's going. I'm there more regularly. I'm getting more comfortable with it. People are coming back more often. They're showing more interest in it. But for me, it was like, why do you put yourself through this? Like, I felt like I was going backwards. Like, why
Bro,
are you
I
gonna go
agree,
do
man.
something?
People in the crowds is like, you're a natural on Twitch, but like, yo, here's the thing, my guy. You
Yeah.
lied a little bit. You were uncomfortable
Okay.
with the technology. Understandable. You were uncomfortable with the dynamic. There's no way you hit fucking play on that set not knowing it's gonna slap. You're fucking Don Smooth. You know this shit's gonna slap. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Well, what can I say? Who am I to argue with that?
You're
No,
Don,
but when I
you're
say
Don
I don't,
Smooth late game in his career. Like, you're gonna tell me you don't know how to curate like a fucking 2-hour playlist that's gonna slap 100% of the time at this point?
but yes, okay, I hear what you're saying. But honestly, and any DJ in the chat right now could say it. I'm used to live reaction. Like it's totally different. When you're on Twitch now, you got to entertain the people a lot faster.
Yeah.
There's so much
Okay,
more
I feel that.
channels. There's so many channels to go to. People are not going to sit there. What am I going to do that's going to make them stay there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even up to an hour when they're just popping up? They're getting notifications to go here, go there, go da 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 da. So, it took time for me. I just had to make an adjustment. Like, to play the music, that's never the issue. It's the issue of adjusting to a new platform. That's all.
I
And the
respect
fact that
the shit out of that. I
Yeah,
respect that
yeah.
a lot because I pretend like my Twitch journey's been easy, but it's been a miserable clusterfuck, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be on it. I'm just being real with you. Like, I look at y'all
Yeah.
Twitches, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's stuff to figure out. I'm like, okay, it's just awful. Okay, it's every step of Twitch is a miserable experience of growth and learning, and then it's all cool after the fact. Like, I go on these fucking DJ things, and I'm watching the gambling games, and I'm like, I don't understand the back end of it. I don't even have time to like fucking learn it. And then I feel like, like it's just hard. Okay. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I'm actually going, oh, that's my like right now life. What am I fucking talking about? That chat's been too fast for me to watch. I just ignored it. I'm like, it's too scary right now.
But yeah, but it's been a great experience. But like I said, it's revamped something in me because it's like, oh wow, it's a new challenge. It's not just like, because it just comes natural for me to go in a club or anywhere and play a party. It just rolls. It's natural. But now it's like, oh, you got to bring visuals into it. The interaction with the people, the chat. Like, there's so many more elements a part of it that were not there before. But the challenge is good because then it gets you excited. Like, now
Yeah.
I look forward to it. I am excited with it.
Say, we gotta keep giving you flowers because Abe Preach told me to, and what am I gonna argue with Preach? Sometimes you argue with Preach. This was a good time to listen to him. Rico Blocks though says, and Rico Blocks shouted you up mad heavy. I have it on wax.
Yeah, man. It's like he a lot of love, but it was always like that back from then. I treated people with respect. That's what it was.
Love it. Actually, that's the biggest knowledge nugget of the night. Don Smooth treated motherfuckers with people with respect. I'm terrible at this, right? People with respect. And yo, Smooth is a household name from Walter PPK 2020. Rico Black.
That's my guy. That was one of the guys that would be with me carrying the crates.
That's so awesome. Thank you for carrying the crates back then. We shout you out and salute you today, and you deserve your flowers. But Rico Blas wanted to say almost all the Montreal MCs owe Don Smooth for breaking their records on Street Sounds. Used to cop mixtapes and vinyls from Don. Oh, wow, chat came in. Don at Street Sounds Record Store at Lionel Gruel. Then DJ Jammer just like, oh shit, for real? I remember getting off. I'm just adding voices. Getting off at Lionel Gruel, get some records there, then back on the Metro. Don Smooth was always killing it from fucking Meticulous. Like, this is just fucking, wow. I can't make this up, my guy. You can go check this out.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you.
All right, so how did you actually get the job? You never said that, and that's actually really important. The DJ
how I got the job
in CKUT back then.
So now at this point in time now, like I said, things slowed down in the club world, but for all of a sudden I'm starting to get this radio attention. Like, I always did like guest spots here and there at CKUT, but now Butcher T introduces me to Duke Eatman. So I visit Duke Eatman at K103. He's doing Street Sounds at this time. We're talking, this is 2003, right? So he's like, what I could offer you right now is I can offer you a mixed show Thursday nights from 1 until 3 in the morning. So I'm like, bet, whatever it is, I'm going to take it. I started that. It was called the Rock the Block Mix Show. And I just went heavy. It was straight hip hop and like a little bit of R&B. It was a straight hip hop show, the Jada Kisses, the Fabulouses, and that kind of stuff. And I was so excited to be on the radio. Like, I would pre-mix the cassettes, drop them off, the CDs actually. And he put them in the system. and that was my mix show at
So was it
from
like
one.
live?
I wasn't live. I pre-recorded everything at home. SoundForge, recorded everything in SoundForge, put it on a CD, and brought it over there
Hold up,
every week.
Which one's SoundForge?
Sony.
Okay.
That was the recording software I used at the time.
That's fucking dope. So you would mix this all together, and
Yeah.
you had a 2-hour thing go on. Is there ad slots or whatever that gets put in?
They probably had like jingles, but nothing crazy. Like they weren't selling real advertising at that time. They would take like maybe some daytime advertising and fill some spots, fill some gaps for the overnight. And I was living in LaSalle at that time, and K103 was not the easiest thing to get inside.
Yes.
And I used to come outside and sit in my Acura in the driveway and listen to myself on the radio, in the middle of the winter.
Man, that's actually fucking cool. Now, here's the thing. I can appreciate what it's like to be excited about being on the radio because I'm old enough to give a shit about that, for real. My mom, everybody listened in, and it was cool. I've even got a chance to rap on the Concordia version of CKUT.
CJLO, right.
So I've been to that one, and I got to do a little one too there. And I embarrassed myself with blasters that one time, but both times I was like, I'm on the fucking radio. Oh my gosh, it's so fucking cool. I don't care what anyone says. I might hate on radio sometimes because I find it like whatever. I'm a pro tech guy. It is what it is.
Right.
But like, if somebody was like, I could do what I want on radio, not like I had to follow rules. I could do what I want on radio. I'd fuck with that heavy.
Definitely. That's what you get that at the college radio. You get to do that. Like, shout out to Blaster and Ziploc. Like, Ill Groove Garden. They've been doing that. Like, I'm one of the guys, that rocks a lot of the Montreal stuff, and they support too.
But yeah, everybody fucking loves your overall essence of that show. So, but I think it's mad interesting that you effectively built up the ability to sell Were you selling mixtapes? Like, over this period, I forgot to ask, because you sold a mixtape to a fucking celebrity for $20. This had to light an entrepreneurial bug up in your spirit at some point or another.
100%. And it didn't. The bug was planted, but it wasn't. I didn't react to it yet at that point. But in the later years down the line, I kept going to New York to buy records, and like the mixtape game was crazy. Like Mr. C, DJ Kid Capri, Ron G, whatever. All these mixtapes were in your face in Canal Street, and I said, why aren't we doing that in Montreal? Why are none of us putting out mixtapes like that? Like, DJs were always making mixtapes, but we weren't mass producing them and really selling them. I came back, I hooked up with a printer, and I wish I had it here. I should have had this prepared. And I had a printer for the first time ever have it professional mixtape cover with a picture and everything printed out. And that was like, maybe 95-ish or something like that. And from there, then we started. And then when we were at Street Sounds Records,
hold on,
all of a sudden now
we
were able to do CDs.
Did we just find out that Don Smooth is the innovator of the Montreal mixtape game? Is that what you just said?
I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm saying I'm one of the first. Yes, I will say I'm one of the first.
Let's call it seminally important. I believe the journalist in you should be able to accept seminally important.
Yeah. Well, because I'll take that. Because somebody's going to come out and say, oh man, but I was doing that from 92. But I was on both sides. I was the DJ and I was on the side of the selling. So I can honestly say we at Street Sounds, we were the first to put out mixtapes and start selling them. And then when we got into the mix CDs, like DJs used to come in and tell me they're paying their bills hustling those mix CDs. A mix CD was $20 back then. And people were buying them like crazy.
It's not just them. I've had multiple people talk about the actual way that they ate off of this too on my channel. Rappers later on. So
it was crazy.
You are seminally one of the first. Moving forward, we'll say the guy that is relevant for this conversation. To bring that to Montreal, my guy, that is like far more important than I think anything else we've talked about so far in terms of actually being relevant history to changing the fucking game.
It was a big thing. It definitely was a big thing. And like you said, a lot of people ate off of it. You know what I mean? I was a part of it. I don't take credit for things. That's Don Smooth, anyone will tell you that Don Smooth is a super humble dude. But I was definitely a big part of it, for sure.
Literally, you have this cap locks, humble from preaching the chat right now. But no, he's right. Like, I'm sorry. Even if there were 7 other guys, okay, who fucking cares? You're one of 7. That's still being the guy.
I'm there.
Okay, like if the Wikipedia is written and the story is told correctly, your name is written right there with the other ones. There were like multiple founding fathers. They still, everybody, Americans still all know their names. You're a founding father of the mixtape game. Can we go with that? Is that something your humility can accept?
I'll take it. I will take that. Like I said, man, I've never stopped to think about everything that I've done and everything I've been a part of. I've done it. I'm in the moment, and then I'm on to the next moment. But the fact that, your chat and you and everybody showing so much love, I appreciate that to the max. You know what I mean? But I was never doing it for that. A lot of people get into the DJ game because they want to meet girls, or maybe they want to make some quick cash. For me, that was not the thing. Maybe that will be the outcome after a time, but that wasn't the end goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what we're doing here. We're capturing the moments. We have to kind of reverse engineer Drink Champs, okay? We're just doing it. Drink Champs had a bunch of people who everybody knows the celebrations of coming through and telling stories. Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing the opposite. People need to know your stories. It's the opposite. It's a need. All right? Like, I did not know that you were that important for it. Like, that is like you're adding layers. And I'm certain there's people watching that are going, yo, what the fuck just did this?
They didn't know that shit.
That's so important that they know that shit. Don Smooth.
Okay, so let me drop
the Montreal mixtape game.
Let me drop one more thing then, and this is definitely gonna have to be in the part 2 or something. And the next time we speak and we talk, then if you think that is exciting, I'll let you know about the 4 or 5 years that I was a judge for the Junos. For the hip-hop category.
I think the whole fucking world would benefit from that. Yo, people don't understand the Junos. I looked into the Junos. I looked into how it works, and I'm like, oh, wow, yo, nobody here talks about that like we should be. Kind of like grants.
I was on the committee.
Oh.
I was on the committee for the hip-hop category for about 6 or 7 years.
So all y'all heard it here. In round 2, we're going to get the Juno breakdown for fucking Don Smooth. Okay, so Tech Luciano, and because people are now highlighting me shit, man. Like Double Sound Creations said, still got enough of Don Smooth mixtape cassettes in our musical library.
True. Yeah. Like, these are people like I was with from all the time. Like,
do you know what they're saying? Who the fuck does that?
He's still holding them.
Like, you can't just say, yo, my boy, like my guy. Like, people don't do that, okay? People don't hold their friend shit like that. So the fact that they're holding your stuff, I'm bumping it. It's not just an item. You're like,
thank you, Double SH.
Then Tech Luciano, I appreciate your passion. We're all passionate. We have fucking Don Smooth dropping knowledge nuggets all over this shit. This is gold. Thank you. You just made my career. I got co-signed by the voice of the city. It is what it is. Before tonight is over, please emphasize the importance of street sounds, battle of the tracks, and how success on Don's show equated directly to being asked to open up for big acts, etc. Please. So I know that we're going to expand on this in the future, but you got to understand that this is how people my age see you. I wasn't in the game when they were doing this because I was late. I came in older at 20, so I missed all this shit. Right. But consistently, my peers in my little middle brother age group between the young and the old all see you like that. You were that significant. You know how I know? Every one of them said so. I haven't got them up here, but the Reps Up boys would co-sign that. I'm certain Dirtwork and Magnum and them would co-sign that. You know how I know? I had a chat with Magnum and your name came up. It was off camera. So
those are my guys. True story. My last episode of Street Sounds, my special guest was Dirtwork, Magnum. I want to say iBlast. I think it was Blicky. I invited them for my last show.
Which one is? So Street Sounds is your radio show on CK.
No, see, Street Sounds. Okay, break it down. I worked at Street Sounds, the record store, right? This was like 96 to 99, 2000, which was named after Street Sounds, the radio show. Mm-hmm. These guys, Street Sounds, the radio show started first. And the guys, like I said, Eddie Lewis, Mike Tuff Williams, and John opened a record store. And they named it Street Sounds because the radio show was so popular. And they were the ones that provided the music for Heel Kirby. They were the ones that providing all the urban music for the show. So they figure for good branding, give it the same name, and people would just put, 1 and make a connection. And they really did.
So just so that you know how important this is, because I'm going to keep saying that. DJ Damage 4000, for real, I forgot about all this. This is super dope to hear. Yo,
What up, DJ Savage? Thank you.
if you can learn one thing in the history of recent marketing, you know what sells real well? Nostalgia. I think you are possibly one of the bigger tokens of nostalgia to a lot of players in this game right now. So you got to understand, you could probably talk about the most boring things and people would still fuck with it in a way that like most of us cannot.
Well, I got a lot to say, man. Definitely.
Nah, it's fucking dope. So okay, so you did the show challenge thing with the tracks playing back to back?
Yeah, we did something called Battle of the New Tracks, right? So when it started, like once again, I came there. This was a part of the format. When I came there, that already existed. But a lot of the times, the Battle of the New Tracks would be like, I don't know, Jay-Z versus Nas. It was the mainstream artists, right? They mixed it up. They would have locals here and there, but it wasn't a thing. So when I came in, I followed that format a little bit. But then I said, you know what? This is a good way to squeeze in new artists. Because when you come into a radio station, you got a format to follow. I had a playlist when I started Street Sounds. I had a playlist of what to play at what time from beginning to end. But they quickly recognized that I knew what I was doing. And they said, you know what? We trust your judgment. Just go. You play what you want to play. And when I got that green light, I started slipping in the Montreal rappers. And I started seeing the appreciation of it. And I just ran with it. And we made it a thing. But yeah, like I said, man, I had the opportunity. So then I would put up Montreal rappers versus Montreal rappers. And I was like, you know, this is a good outlet for these artists because so now they want to build a fan base. They got to go in there, call up their friends, make their friends listen to the radio, get their friends behind them to support them. That's how they got to get this start. You want to be an entertainer? You got to grind for it. Get on the phone, call up your friends, tell them to turn on the radio and support you. You got to get that support behind you. And that's kind of what we started. And it went bananas after that. So, like people would offer me money to put their tracks on Battle of the New Tracks after a while, which I never took, by the way.
That's the difference between you and the rest of the world and why people give you the flowers and the legends is because you kept it about the city. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, man. Like, when I came into the game, that wasn't really a thing no more, right? And I was part of the fragmented fallout. I mean, I don't know how to put it. Like, it is what anyway, there's a lot of conversations there, but, like, I didn't have that opportunity because I didn't know about it because of whatever, and it never really came back again. You know? And so, like, I don't know if you know how huge that was because at some point or another, iBlast had a song where there were some girlies basically fucking in the video, and that shit was going around my call center at work. So, it
was probably Rub It in Your Face.
I can't remember the name of it.
It might have been Rub It in Your Face. He went hard on the Battle of the Tracks, but yeah.
But like,
it might be Rub It in Your Face.
But like, the fact is, iBlast was big enough that he got like into the sphere of regular people.
Yeah.
And that's you, at the end of the day, because you created this thing that created a buzz and created a hype and created a glue and created all these things. And if you're saying specifically, you took what was there before, and you're the guy that specifically brought the Montreal to Montreal thing, then you are literally the guy who created the lane that popped all these people off and gave them the chance they needed.
I will definitely say I made playing Montreal music cool.
That's dope.
I made playing Montreal music cool. I'll say that 100%.
That's cool because I like to play Montreal music now. I've gotten really into the local scene, and I want to make it cool too. So I feel like I'm trying to, like, you know, bring up the spirit of Don Smooth in a lot of ways. I didn't know I was doing that, but now that I talk to you, I'm going to call it the spirit of Don Smooth or whatever. Making Montreal music cool. That's the mission. You know, for anyone out there that's watching this that wants to see what they can do, make it look cool. You know, like,
that's it, man. Like there was times and DJ started asking the artists for their MP3s. Like they started bumping the Montreal tracks. People were bumping Expos Fitted in the clubs. Like after a while, it was like you kind of had to have at least a one or two piece of Montreal artists in there to drop your DJ sets. You know what I mean? And it was never done before because throughout the 90s, excluding like the Dubmatics and the Shades of Culture, it was always like Montreal was always like America's little cousin that was like, it wasn't cool. Like Montreal, like there was such a stigma on it. And in comes the 2000s now. The music's getting a lot better. Production is getting better. They can stand up next to the tracks from all around the world. So why not? Why not give them their shine in their city? And that was my thing. I was like, if I'm on a radio station and I'm not playing Montreal music, who's gonna play it?
Big facts. I really respect that a lot, man. So yeah, I don't know. I get the feeling you're getting to the point of needing to leave soon. I don't know if I'm
Well,
wrong.
I said I would give you until 10 o'clock or until people just gave up on, tired of listening to us.
That's fair. I was just trying to read it out properly. Because if that's the case, does anybody still watching this? Because there's still 25. It dipped a little bit, but fuck that. This deep, it stayed over 30 for almost the whole time, my guy. I'm not lying to you. That's fucking insane for my numbers. We have a serious fucking thing, though. Do y'all have questions for Don Smooth? Here is a great chance and opportunity to ask the man your fucking self. Ask him questions.
For real, though.
You got people still watching.
Thank y'all, people. I see. Shout out to Willie, man. Willie.
We got our first question, though. Shout out DJ
right.
Bobby Payne. I knew from the first time I saw DJ Bobby Payne that guy was going to be a motherfucking winner and shit. Just because he's got that energy. I'm a big fan of Bobby Payne. It is what it is. I'm a big fan of him. But who are your favorite DJs?
Who's asking me that? You're asking me that or Bobby Payne's asking me that?
Bobby Payne's asking me that.
Who are my favorite DJs? Okay. Most favorite DJs influential, Jazzy Jeff, Kid Capri. I gotta say DJ Tough, because that was like the foundation. That was my Mr. Miyagi. Let me see. And a big influence, so I gotta shout out my dude from Toronto, starting from scratch. And I love all my Montreal DJs for sure. You know what I mean? But those, as a DJ, as in terms of being influenced, that I came up and, patterned and tried to pick a piece from this one and that one, those were the go-tos a lot. That's
dope. Thank you for answering that question. I appreciate that. Lindell Williams, a homeboy, he's actually one of the patrons, so I have to ask his questions or he'll open my comments and shit. Were you a Dick Clark or American Bandstand fan?
Oh, hells yeah. Oh, yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. I saw Madonna for the first time. Listen, you have to understand, these were the outlets for the music. Dick Clark American Bandstand was basically White Soul Train. That's where, on a Saturday morning, those were the go-tos to see the new artists. I saw Madonna for the very first time perform Like a Virgin, maybe it was 1983, 84, on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. So did I watch it? Yeah. Did I listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40? Yeah, of course.
Amazing. 514 Online Mix, who shout them out. If you are ever open to doing another interview worth pursuing, it's with 514
They were
Online
on
Mix.
Those were the girls on last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. It was very entertaining.
But if you were ever willing to do it with them too, it would be a great experience for you. They'd make you look way prettier than I could. But
well,
no, they're about it the way I'm about it. That's what I'm trying to say. They're fucking real about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
well, I appreciate it.
But she had a question, not to just shut her out. Sorry, you gotta shut people out, Sorry, what the fucking what does Don Smooth think about the radio business today? Is it still popping to you?
And it's funny that I had this conversation with Preach, and I was like, because he started his new show on CKUT, and I was like, I question it's not popping like it once was. Obviously not, simply for the fact that there's so many different elements. But is it relevant? Yeah, 100%. I still believe radio is still relevant. It has to share its space, but it's still relevant. There's still a demographic that goes to it. And at the end of the day, I remember when I would be in certain circles and it would be like, okay, you're a podcaster. They're like, oh, you're on the radio? Like the record labels, that was clout. Like the podcaster, they're like, well, anybody could turn on a camera and go on YouTube. But they're like, you're actually in the business. Like you're working radio. Now, of course, we're in 2021, the podcaster's right there or above, actually. You know what I mean? So the labels.
Yeah, but if you're smart, you act like Preach and you become both.
There you go. You know what I mean? But to answer that question, say all that, radio is still relevant. Is what it once was? No. Simply for the fact that there's so many different outlets. For example, I have a teenage son. He's 14 years old. he wouldn't know where to start on a radio dial, and he has no interest in it whatsoever.
Facts.
So I don't know where radio is gonna go in the next 10, 15 years. You know what I mean?
Twitch. That would be my answer to your question. But another question, and this one's from Vanessa. What's your next move, Don Smooth?
What is my next move? Well, right now, we're all waiting for this thing to clear up, waiting for this COVID to clear up. I'm really enjoying the Twitch. I'm really enjoying the online. I'm looking to expand on that. Like, this is actually my 4th day on Twitch, and I'm kind of glad it's an interview and we're just talking. And I'm on Twitch tomorrow, Bangers and Mash with Forever Preach, his all house music show.
That's
so y'all
beautiful.
can check that out. I'll be playing house music tomorrow with Preach and his team, Bobby Payne and all them J Buns.
Yo, can somebody Bonnie? I guess I'm talking to you. Can you throw Don Smooth's fucking channel in the chat so that like people can go hit follow and make sure to be there for Bangers and Mash and show that love? Because that would be dope. That's all I'm saying. We do have more things. Somebody sent you a picture message of your mixtapes to throw up to the camera right now.
Are you serious?
To your phone or something? That's what they said. I don't know if that's doable.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Also, there's still more questions. We're not done. This is dope, man. People
I don't know if you can see it. It's Fat Tracks from Street Sounds.
Oh my gosh,
Records.
we can see that shit. That's fucking dope. This is like history, my peoples. Thank you so fucking
That's
much.
crazy.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Mime. Thank you.
Wow. Yo, that's dope. Yo, I said it's Q&A and the numbers started going up. If you were not a DJ, what do you think you would be doing instead?
It's hard to say. It's what I've been doing since I've been 14 years old.
Oh, sorry. That was from T-Locks, by the way. I forgot to say the name. That was really
Shout out
mean.
T-Locks. T-Locks is one of my mods. Thank you. What can I say? I mean, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. I'm not saying that I never considered anything else, but it went so well for me, especially when I got into radio, that I only saw myself going further and further into it. But I could say this, in my years since leaving the radio, I started my own business. I got a food service business that I've been running for the past 5 years. So I guess maybe I could say that is what I would be doing, because that is what I'm actually doing.
Wait, say that again? A food business that you're running for the last 5 years?
When I left radio, I started a food service called Tasty Touch.
Is that still an active food service that people should be
Very
aware
much
of?
so. They can tastytouch.ca. Obviously, things are on pause because of the COVID, but yeah, we did the Taste of the Caribbean. That's going to be a 3rd interview. Don Smooth, the entrepreneur.
I would love that part. You don't understand. I want all of the interviews. I want to get so much of the Don Smooth story that we can make like the Don Smooth documentary. Sorry, I know I'm looking rude, but I'm actually just trying to link your Twitch. I know it's kind of rude, but it's also kind of not rude at the same time. What was the name of the site you said? Tasty?
Tastytouch.ca.
Because I know you can't link it because you're not a mod, so I'm trying to make sure that people can fucking get that shit done proper, and I'm just running it. And the girlfriend, I think she's dealing with supper, so I'm cool with that.
No worries, my dude. No worries.
Awesome. So now I've linked your shit, which is fucking important. Because, yo, can you just touch on real quick what the fuck Tasty Touch is, though? We need to get this before I go, because just in case people only watch this one, it's mad important.
Well, it's a food service business that I started with the family, with my wife and my in-laws. We started it around 2015, 2016. And we started by doing festivals, and we were regulars at the Taste of the Caribbean every year, and the response we were getting was fantastic. So we just kept on building on it. Then we started getting contracts to do events and different things like that, and it's grown. It's grown tremendously. Even most recently during COVID, we were doing work with the Red Cross to provide for families in need. We were doing that heavily, but since all of the restrictions have gotten so much tighter now, that has been put on pause. But I'm very confident, we're going to start up real soon again. We're going to be doing stuff with WIBCA, the West Island Black Community Association. It's a lot to get into. Like, I'm trying to give you like a shrunken.
All right, I'll give you the short version. Don Smooth makes dope food, and it's co-signed by Vanessa. Cop his shit when it's available. Simple. Link over there. Put that shit in your favorites. When times is good again, buy his food. The rest
Tasty
of it.
Touch, people, yeah.
That's simple. Listen, this is your last call for questions, everyone. And I'm going to then go on to the outro bit because I don't want to waste Mr. Smooth's time. But we are apparently...
This was cool, though. This was cool.
We're going to raid DJ Tempo 0868 because Preach said to do it. So why am I going to question that? I don't really care. I'll raid whoever. But we're going to do that next up. So don't be dipping quite yet. Show some love to the DJ scene if you feel it is shit. I'll hit that follow when you get there. That's how you do it. That's how you build the community. And it's etc. How do you have any interest in being a tour DJ?
I've done that. I've been down that path. It depends. Oh, that's Willie asked that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if the schedule works, you know, I mean, I'm a father of two, so I don't have the free time that I used to have. But you know, if it would fit into the schedule, yeah, why not?
Amazing. There you go, Willie. You got to make him the right offer and make it more enticing in that Twitch cheddar, though. That's all I'm gonna say.
I can't get paid in bits.
Oh, you know what? You say that now, my guy, but that's just being short-sighted. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh no! Oh, trust me, I know the power of the bit game on Twitch. Like,
yeah.
My son is heavily into the gamers, and I see those gamers like they got to
turn the hype. I see Don Smooth in a year from now. I'm jealous of his numbers. Double set, the one that you keep saying the name of better than me. Who would be all-time 2 DJ to play with?
Wow, to play with.
That's a good question because it's different than the other one, but it's kind of like
that
asking
is.
It. But for about performing now.
That's a good question. I could say to play with. I could. Well, for me to look at it like that, because I played with so many, but obviously Jazzy's like the GOAT to me. Like, that's the greatest of all time. If I could share and play with someone like Jazzy Jeff, definitely that would be on the top of my list. You see, I'm more looking at it as DJs that I've never played with, and I had the good fortune to play with many. Jazzy's definitely up there. Oh, DJ Puffy, man, from Barbados. Like, that dude, the Red Bull champion from 2016. Those are two guys that if I could get on a bill with either of them would be amazing.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who those are, but other people will 100% appreciate what you just said there.
Well, you know who Jazzy Jeff is.
Okay, that part I did know. The other name you were saying. I don't know that
DJ
one.
Puffy is a Red Bull freestyle champion.
Okay. Sorry, I was also trying to read the questions at the same time. This part's harder than I would like to admit. Any current Montreal artists you big on from Tech Luciano?
You know, and it's so crazy. Till this day, people still send me songs. I'm like, either you guys have been out of Montreal for the last 2-3 years, or you don't know what's going on. They still send me songs for the radio. Lou Bags, Nate Husser, making a lot of noise, big time. He's on Instagram. I think it's Everyone's a Weirdo's his handle. Like, he's knocking down the door definitely. Eh?
He did an amazing thing for the city recently.
Yeah, and he reps Montreal. Like, he doesn't hide the fact. Like, he's not like getting out there and forgetting about Montreal.
Nah, man, he got Montreal placed in that Jake Paul moment. Let's give him his fucking flowers. He got his song placed in Jake Paul winning that fight that everybody cared about, that I didn't care about, but he won. And then Jake Paul's turning up to Montreal, and that was Nate Huss that did that. That's fucking huge for the city, and everybody.
That's big.
Everybody owes Nate Huss for that now moving forward, because he put Jake Paul on the Montreal. Like, think about that. Anyway, yo, there's a lot of Montreal people I fucks with. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, and we gotta shout out Dirt Work. You know what I mean? Dirt Work.
Big facts.
Dirt work, man. Like, what more can I say? His resume speaks volumes.
In case y'all don't know, Grammy, I think he won the Grammy for Jesus is King, and he's nominated again. And Kate Trinata is also nominated this year. So shout out Kate Trinata for the nomination right now. My girlfriend, she gets special privileges in Question Line. She wants to know, are your kids learning the family trade?
My son is more a gamer. He actually, he's come out and he's done some gigs. But I don't, the equipment is there, and they know that, like, they're at the age where I'm like, okay, you guys can touch it. Just don't eat no food over it or not like that. Don't come with no drinks when you're near my stuff. But he's dabbled in it and he's done really well at it. But if it's something that I don't force him into it. If it's something that he chooses to do, he knows that he has my support. He has access to all the equipment, all the music. It's there anytime he wants. But he dabbles in it, yeah.
So honestly, you're not only getting all the life advice, now we're getting dad advice from fucking
yeah.
Don Smooth, man. Thank y'all for the questions. They're coming in for real though. Jamal Hussein, and this is we're back a bit now. Jamal Hussein, there's not that many more, but when was your first encounter experience with Black Temple?
Wow. Black Temple, the sound, I had to have been probably Motions or... because they were heavily on the reggae circuit, so I probably came across Black Temple probably in like a Soca City or a church hall basement somewhere, because they were more on the dancehall vibe, the rugged dancehall vibe. Yeah, I would probably say that. Could have been Emotions as well, but I met most of the reggae sounds in the dancehall scene, like when we would party in those church basements.
So double shout.
Big up to Black Temple, definitely.
That's fair. I'm going to have to Google who they are after. I'm not going to lie. That was just like a name I wrote down in my head. Got to go fucking check that. And Preach might have told me. I actually have a OneNote file, and it took me over 2 hours to write it out, where I wrote down every name from interview with Preach. And every now and then I update it.
Well, Preach was a selector on Black Temple, one of the youngest DJs.
Yo, straight up. Okay, I see why Jamal's asking that question. Yo, Jamal's a real one. Everybody needs a Jamal Hussein in their corner. I think Jamal Hussein is one of the most impressive and interesting people I have ever talked to. Like, he's so fucking
nicknamed
cool.
The Martian. When I met him, he was nicknamed The Martian. And he was part of, I think it was Black Gloves, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Jamal.
Yo, correct us, Jamal.
He was nicknamed The Martian.
Also, if y'all need your merch done, hit up Jamal Hussein. It is what it is. He'll get that shit done proper at good prices and all that good stuff. Hit up Jamal Hussein. Shout it out like that.
Facts.
Diable Sound Creation says, I asked, does he prefer private functions or clubs?
As of late, the private. Because when you're doing the private, a lot of the times when people are booking you, they're booking you specifically for you and your style. So they know that, okay, if I'm booking Don Smooth, they know what they're going to get, and they're booking me for that reason. So then I'm more open. When you come into the club, you still got a little bit of that, but at the same time, the club might have certain vibes that they're not on. Like, I've been to clubs where they know what I play, but then they want to restrict you and say, well, we don't want you to play no reggae, or we don't want you to play too much of this, or don't play no trap. So, but when you do the private functions, it's like, it's carte blanche. It's anything goes. You do as you please. So I would say more and more now it's leaning towards private. I enjoy the private.
All right. So that's dope. I think that's it for the questions. Maybe another 1-2 comes through after I do my sound bit, but I want to record the sound bit now if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Because we are going to have this on YouTube after, where we edit it out if there's a couple of things here or there, and then it gets legacyzed like that, because Twitch is temporary, and we do have like a YouTube audience that will peep this, hopefully. We're trying to like migrate the YouTube audience into the interview life. It's like they're learning the hard way. But
before you go, I just want to send a shout out to everybody. I appreciate you guys. I know how hard it is to keep people on Twitch and to keep people engaged and entertained, and the fact that we had these numbers for 3 hours, I salute you guys so much. Behind that suit is doing real great things. And it's I really appreciate it.
You're interesting.
And it was fun, man.
I get a lot of different. I have the numbers on every guest. That's all I got to say. You're now the king. Yo, because
they say numbers don't lie.
Preach brought a lot of people here, sure, and that was a great acquisition point from Preach. So shout out Preach for helping that happen. But they didn't leave, and that was you. And maybe partly me. I'm being humble. Of course I'm being fucking humble. It's a character. This guy gets it. He sees what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm just saying that for the people watching. Yo, the second it's off, it's like, yo, that's done. Fuck yeah. Anyway, I'm just letting everybody know. But yo, thank y'all for watching. Because for reals, though, thank y'all for watching. Y'all live? Yo, fucking VIP shits, for real. That is like, my heart is blessed. That is the best number I've ever seen this long. It's like, wow, I can brag about this for a minute at work. And people are going to be like, okay. Anyway, I can't talk much more about that, but I'm going to brag about this. So thank you for helping make this a blessed-ass moment where all bids came in. I don't know. I'm actually kind of excited to see what the insight says after the first round. I'm not going to lie. All these people are thanking us right now. People are thanking you for what you did and for the community. But, yo, again, sorry, I got distracted. Thank y'all people watching this in the future, because yo, you're important too. So I appreciate y'all for sticking through this, because yo, you watched a fucking crazy ass long video on YouTube. You're a fucking real MVP and stuff. Anyway, since you're so cool, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you're on something else, hit that follow button. We got our first sponsor on Podbeam today. It's gonna be worth like pennies, but future is high, everyone. Yeah, that's right. This will be on Spotify after down the line and everything for the people watching this, etc. So you'll be able to get it on all your fucking platforms. Anyway, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do. If you're on Twitch and you support what we do, there's a little subscribe, poos and bits and stuff. Anyways, and if you're in the future, patreon.com/behind that suit. You know what it is. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for real reals. Live long and prosper, everyone.